Welcome, everybody. Crunch Time with Jeff, Booner, Lukas, and Gentry. It is Friday, June 28th. Show before the weekend. You know, it's a good Friday. We got a lot of lines to get to. Pistons trade went down today. The NHL draft. I don't know what happened to Booner. I don't know what just happened. The NHL draft is upon us. It's a packed Friday. Travis Kelce gassing up Sam LaPorta. Oh, there's Booner. What the hell happened?
What the hell did you just do?
Oh. Sorry. I apologize. I refreshed my screen because the thing wasn't loading on my screen. I refreshed it. I didn't know it takes me out of the show here completely. I mean, by the way, I got an update. I'm getting a new like setup here in the next couple, and then within the next week, I'm going to be moving my studio somewhere else with a legit like setup. So, R.I.P. Kobe.
Yeah,
more Kobe in about a week.
Okay. All right. I see you, Boone. To answer Keitho, where's Gentry? Yeah, you know what? It is unfortunate that the hockey guy is not here. I will say that he's got something to attend at this point in time. So I don't think he joined the show today, but Monday we'll be able to break down what the Red Wings did in totality with Michael Gentry. You're looking at three stooges that don't know as much as Michael Gentry. So if I'm being honest with you,
if anyone knows anything in the chat, just throw some stuff in there. We could do like a 5-minute share along or something here for the Red Wings draft. Whatever you guys want to know. I don't know any players, but if you guys can teach us something so we know what to expect tonight, that would be sick. Just throw it in the chat. We'll put it up on the screen.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of hockey in the NHL, I can talk about the Red Wings, but with this draft, no. I'm going to admit, self-aware. Not going to start talking out of my ass about different prospects, and you guys do trust our opinions, so that would be irresponsible of me to do that. Mm-hmm. So Gentry, we'll see. He might be joining the show tonight. Maybe we can give us a little late show recap, but if not, Monday, be there because he'll dive more in depth. But fellas, like I said, a lot went down today. The Pistons traded.
Real quick. I just last thing here, Red Wings. I just want I go Rings, baby. Let's go. Let's go Red Wings. Hey, I love the Wings. I know all the players on there. I just don't know hockey prospects. All my family know. I don't know hockey prospects, but I love the Wings. As soon as they draft a player, guess what? I'll know the man's name, and I won't forget it.
Yeah. I amen to that. Amen to that, Boone.
Did you hear the Patrick Kane thing too? By the way,
what he wants a longer term deal.
He just wants a 2-year deal, and they offered him a 1-year deal, and they won't do it. So there's our hockey talk, Patrick Kane, baby.
Hey, Mike did send a little nugget in his. I'll speak for Mike because he's not here at this moment. That maybe Stamkos on his way to the D. I'm just throwing that out there in the universe.
The Wings feel one move. They feel one move away.
Pause.
Away from what? Making the playoffs?
Yeah, like becoming a contender. Like last year, they should have made the playoffs. They missed out because of the Larkin situation, and I think he was injured down the stretch for a little bit. But if that wouldn't have happened, I'm sure they make the playoffs. They're one move away from becoming a playoff team. And when you're a playoff team in the NHL, at least I've noticed a lot. Like I love watching playoff hockey. When you're in the dance, you have a chance, especially if you have a legit team and some legit dudes. So, I mean, if they can somehow get Steven Stamkos and as well as find a way to bring Patrick Kane back and just keep this roster what it is and just keep upgrading and take a step forward, I think Steve Yzerman is like one major trade and one major signing away from this being like a legit team again. And people being like, hey, because remember last year when they were hot for a little bit towards down the stretch.
They were peaking. They were saying that there was the last team you wanted to see come playoff times.
Yeah, and national media, Spitting Chicklets, all of them were like, you don't like this is a team that can compete in the playoffs. So if you just add like that one or two more big pieces, Jeff's over there just having a blast right now. But we're trying to have some hockey talk. I'm sorry, people.
Booner was getting distracted by the captions. You can't do that. There's too many captions at once, Jeff.
You know me by now.
Some of these comments are getting me. I'm not gonna lie.
We've done a show for long enough.
I think we have the funniest chat out of any show in the state of Michigan.
You made me spill my drink.
It's hard to focus. But like I said,
over my notes. Look at this.
Booner, stop your whining.
Come on, keep your whining. I got the notes near. I got drinks here. Be responsible, Boone. All right, how about that?
Comments just threw the drink out of my hands.
Now he's blaming the comments.
No, I love the people. I'm talking about the Jeff comments.
What? Like I
Friday's show.
Friday show. In a trade went down today. The Detroit Pistons traded for Tim Hardaway Jr. And 3 second-round picks, and they traded away Quentin Grimes. Which funny story about Quentin Grimes, real quick. Actually, you guys know Lex. Her cousin. Actually, I met him one time. He hoops out in Texas. He's pretty good. And this was years ago. So at the time, Quentin Grimes and him were teammates. So when I was talking to the kid, he was a cool guy. Really good at basketball. And he was like, yeah, I'm out in Texas and I'm playing with this guy named Quentin Grimes. You probably know him. And I was like, oh, I didn't. And I think that at that point, Quentin Grimes was at Houston. I think that's where he went to college. So I kind of knew of Quentin Grimes, and now it's funny, full circle. He's on the Detroit Pistons, and now he was traded. I like this trade, guys. I'm curious what you guys think of it. I tweeted out today. It makes sense for both sides. Trajan Langdon hinted at this in his press conference, and you have $60 million in cap space. Yep. And instead of just signing everybody and guys that you don't necessarily want to sign, you trade away Quentin Grimes, who you probably weren't bringing back. He's not a core foundational piece. He's not a foundational piece of this core. And you get 3 second-round picks and Tim Hardaway Jr., who's on an expiring deal. You could potentially flip them at the deadline. There's a lot of options there. But even if they don't, guys, you get multiple seconds. They have a kind of a little chest of second-round picks, and it was reported Vincent Goodwill of Yahoo Sports that the plan is to eventually try and turn those into a first-round pick down the line and maybe go out and get a first-round pick, which you can use to acquire guys like what the New Orleans Pelicans did today, trading away first-round picks to get DeJounte Murray. So I like the trade. I don't mind it at all. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I was just going to say real quick, Booner, because you'll be able to expand on it better than I will. I just think this is the exact move that the Pistons need to make because, A, it's a veteran shooter, which they need, and to what Booner's been saying and harping on, it's an expiring contract, and Tim Hardaway's stock right now is probably the lowest it ever was going to be when he was – I don't remember how many consecutive shots it was, but he's leaving Dallas on a shooting, low. So his confidence, he needs a change of scenery. Obviously, he's not going to want to be in Detroit, but what will he do? Play better, so potentially get traded out of Detroit to a team that is in a better situation. So this is a move where you're getting assets. To your point, Jeff, you can flip them for a potential first-round pick, and you get what the team needs in shooting. So I think it's really hard to be upset with this trade.
Yeah, and the thing with the Quentin Grimes, I did think that was a little weird. I get what people are saying, the ceiling and everything. But the thing is especially with Pistons fans and people who cover the team, within the last probably month, we've been very clear, and I think people in the Pistons nation and fan base, we've said everyone on this roster is essentially available, probably besides Cade Cunningham. And if you're able to kind of start building a roster and collecting assets and doing different things to be able to build your organization from the bottom up, and Quentin Grimes is part of that, who cares? That's fine. He was never going to be a part of the future, and I get he does have a good ceiling. And maybe he comes back to Detroit at some point of his career when that ceiling starts to get higher. But it's just not his time now. And dude, you look at championship teams. There's players on championship teams who've won in Detroit, on the Red Wings, Pistons, all these teams, and they leave after that year. So there's no point of getting. And Schiff God said it there, getting emotionally attached with players, especially Quentin Grimes. So the uproar on Twitter was nuts. And this is 2 days ago when I had that conversation before the draft about what should the Pistons do. When Langdon said, I want to get deals and get assets. This is exactly what it is. And he's going to do this 2 or 3 more times this offseason. He's going to end up with a bunch of assets by the end of the summer. And you're going to have veteran players. And if we're being honest, Tim Hardaway, he had struggled in the playoffs. He has averaged 14 to 15 points per game over the last 8 years of his career. And I know you guys will be like, Booner, you don't want Tobias who averaged 17. No, but he's on a 1-year deal for $15 million, and you're not attached to him after this season, and you got multiple third-round or second-round picks for him. So there's a benefit to it. And at the top of that, he shoots 36% from 3 off 7 attempts as well, on his career. So he shoots at a high clip. I went and looked. The only players on your team that have done that this last year is Fettuccine, Bojan, and Alec Burks. Those are the only 3 guys, and those are the best shooters that you had. Those are the only guys that were reliable on your team the last year. So you just added another one of those guys on a $15 million expiring deal. It's not I saw people be it's like Joe Harris. It's not at all. Joe Harris didn't do anything for you. Tim Hardaway can actually hoop. And Klotz, to your point, this might be like a second breath for him and like a second wind for his career to be like, all right, new fresh start. And if he ends up being really good and you're like, yeah, we can re-sign him and keep him a part of this future. He plays very well with Cade and Jaden, and he's able to help and fit into this organization. Then you make that decision at the end of the year or come trade deadline when you have an opportunity to trade him. So I think and I hope Trajan Langdon does this with 2 or 3 other I hope he does it with 2 or 3 other players in this offseason. Honestly, I hope he goes out and gets more vets like that.
Yeah, and that's the confusing part is like the obsession with Quentin Grimes. Like I like Quentin Grimes, but he's not. I mean, it's not a player. I mean, in Detroit, he didn't play well, and he was a little banged up down the stretch. But I mean, guys, we have to stop making these comparisons to what Troy Weaver did to what Trajan Langdon is now doing, because we have to give him a clean slate. It's not fair to hold one's mistakes against the other. You know, it's like you have a girlfriend and you break up with her, and then the next girlfriend you get, it's like you have to at least give that person, or if you're a female, a male, doesn't matter, but that next person, you have to give that person a fair shot. You can't compare the last relationship's mistakes to this person's every step of the way. It's like, well, this person did. It's a clean slate. Let Trajan do what he wants. Like at this point, I think this is a smart approach. Tim Hardaway Jr., can he flip them? I would hope so. If not, you got 3 second-round picks, and you push the cap into next offseason, which they'll have more money. So it's like, hey, this team won 14 games. You can't be emotionally attached to really anyone. It's like, what are we doing here? Besides Cade Cunningham, obviously, because that's your franchise. But it's like, it's hard. You can't just. It's hard to. I know Pistons fans do defend a lot of their guys, which I respect. But Quentin Grimes, I promise you, is not a player to die on a hill for. I mean, I promise you. He's not.
That's just the crowd that'll never be happy, and it's impossible to please unless you're holding up a trophy. And even then, they might still complain about potential moves that could have been made. But I feel like Hardaway Jr. is a perfect replacement for Alec Burks because, to Booner, your point, is just a bucket getter. And he can go off the dribble a little bit. He's not a pylon out there. Like, he can go off the dribble a little bit, so he's not just stuck in the corner the whole time, which Joe Harris mainly is.
And you know what? He plays defense too. Like he's a good defender. So like he's a 3-and-D guy. And again, like Ryan said there, you have to pay him next year. You pay him 1 year and you're done with him, and you could trade him. Like he is on it's a 1-year contract, and the $15 million is just gone after that. There's nothing else after that. So and I think Ryan was saying the uproar over Grimes, it was silly. So,
yeah, like he said, we weren't about to pay him next year anyway.
I just wanted to confirm to get that for him. I messaged there. But you know what I wanted to say about this, Jeff? I told you earlier today. I think when they start collecting these assets, like you said, there's 1 or 2 things. Maybe they use all of these second rounds and they keep collecting them to go get a first-round pick. I think there's a better chance of them getting all of this, all of this different ammo and saying, let's go trade for like a bigger star or a bigger player to pair with Cade. Like I do think that's an option here with because you have to look at Trajan Langdon. He went and got Brandon Ingram. He went and got Josh Hart. Like he went and I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong. Wasn't he the one that made that trade for the Lakers for Brandon Ingram, Josh Hart, like that big trade over there in New Orleans?
Yeah, well, that was when I think that was the Anthony Davis trade, to be fair. But
was he a part of that?
Yeah.
So that like he's a part of that organization. Then I wouldn't be shocked if he kind of was looking at it in a sense to where we do have our young core, like the Zion that they had over there, these different players. All right, now let's make this big move here. That's where I think that maybe he's kind of looking ahead, saying, if we do get to a point, we can really add someone with Cade with all of these pieces.
Well, speaking of winning 14 games, this is what does happen when you win 14 games. Head coaches, remove themselves from consideration, which was what James Borrego did. He's removed himself from consideration for the Detroit Pistons head coach opening. League sources tell NBA on TNT and Bleacher Report, which Chris Haynes reported it. James Borrego said, I'm good. I'm not going over there. Which honestly, I don't take too much as an insult. Number one, because I understand it. He already coached basically a rebuild in Charlotte, and it probably wasn't happy with how that went. And now he's going to go coach the worst team in basketball. Like, yeah, I understand it from his perspective. And to be honest, and this goes back to my original point with hiring a head coach. I like taking chances, and I know it's risky, but man, I see teams do it and work out for them all the time on guys that haven't been a head coach yet. Sean Sweeney, hopefully they do talk to Chris Quinn. There's other guys that want an opportunity that might be diamonds in the rough, and that's the route I always prefer. It's the same with the NFL, like hiring OCs. I like finding the next guy. Maybe that's just the human element of you want what's best, what's next. But yeah, I don't have an issue with this. James Borrego to me wasn't like he's a good coach, but
doesn't move the needle for you that much.
Well, he's a good coach. I don't want to say he doesn't move the needle, but it's not like a damn James Borrego's off the market. Like
a bridge head coach. Like he's going to get you 30, 40 wins. And then there's now your team's a little bit more attractive, constructed. And then there's that next candidate and you go out and get him type of thing.
I'm probably leaning more that way than championship head coach. Yes.
I do think there's a couple guys like James Borrego, like JB Bickerstaff, like they've been let go because they've been on teams who are like right on the edge and they got fired right before they've been they're like constantly in the playoffs with their team, and then it's like, oh, you get fired. So like those are coaches. I don't know. To me, like I saw JB Bickerstaff as a guy that people want, but for me, it's like, yeah, he might be able to help build something, but again, is he like that championship coach? I don't know. Sean Sweeney, Chris Quinn, that shift guy, just like those are guys who haven't had their chance yet, and it's like you let him come build their culture here. That's where I'm at with it.
Yeah.
Like, let's get a culture actually in Detroit. We haven't had a culture in Detroit since like 2006. It's been gone ever since. Since Tom Gore's taken over the organization, there's been zero culture.
Mm-hmm.
So build it somehow, some way.
And when you get a coach that hasn't been, when you get an assistant coach, there's just like a different level of hunger, in my opinion. It's like their first rodeo, so they're like, they don't want to mess it up, and they're more open to taking jobs like this. When you're a coach and you have a little bit of a resume, you're like, maybe I can sit out a year and see what the future holds. But some of these guys are like, if I can get a job, I'll take it. And that's what I think Sean Sweeney. Unless you're a really good assistant, people are going to be gunning for you. But I think Sean Sweeney and Chris Quinn are two fine options. Sweeney was actually with the Pistons. I think it was with Dwayne Casey. He was an assistant, so he's been here before.
I think Chris Quinn would be great. Just get that.
Yeah, I like the idea of Chris Quinn. I'm still on board with that. But speaking of, okay, so I know we've been talking a lot of Pistons the last couple of days. There you go. All right, there was our Pistons talk for today. A lot of Lions to get to. Sam LaPorta getting some praise from Travis Kelce. We're going to play that clip from a tight end university, which I think it's George Kittle. That's his event, right?
It's a bunch of there. George Kittle, Greg Olsen, Travis Kelce. They like all come together and
put it together.
Yeah, there's like a group of 4 or 5 of them.
Well, busting with the boys, Taylor Lewan, Will Compton. Shout out Will Compton. He liked one of our the real you posted, Boone, on Instagram. So he's showing some love on the page there. So shout out Will Compton. But they interviewed Travis, and by they I mean Taylor Lewan, asking about who's the best tight end at tight end university. Let's hear what Travis Kelce had to say about that. Let's check it out. Best tight end here.
LaPorta had a fucking year, dude.
LaPorta
had a year last year.
I'm glad we're getting a direct answer because a lot of guys out here.
I'm seeing where he goes the second year, but his first year he killed it.
I love that. Best tight end here.
You heard the man. Best tight end at tight end university, easily Sam LaPorta. And he mentions the year he had. He's paying attention. He's watching the young buck. And we talk about it all the time where he ranks among tight ends in the National Football League. You think Sam LaPorta's gunning for that top spot this year?
Is he?
There's no reason that he shouldn't be. I think
he'll get there.
Do I think he'll get there? No. Do I think he has everything in his skill set to do so? Yes. But it just goes back to the things of, I think there's tight ends in different situations that'll get fed more. I think Travis Kelce will have a better year than Sam LaPorta. But I think when you look at it, where Travis Kelce was last year, where he had the potential to just dominate that receiving tree, and obviously they're game planning for him, but he had a down year. So I do think it's just one of those things where it comes with age. He could have a down year. I expect more production. I could see George Kittle having more production. But it's one of those things where if you take numbers out of it, Sam LaPorta, pound for pound, could be one of the best tight end in football. I just think with Kittle in his prime, I think those two are so similar in what they do. Kittle has to drop off a little bit, and coming off a 1,000-yard season, no Brandon Ayuk, I could see Kittle staying at the same level or even improving one. But Kittle and Kelce, 1 and 2, however you want to rank them, I get going into this year, I think those will stay the 2.
All right. I've got a presentation for the boys. I want to
break it down.
Because I'm going to give you the floor. Yeah. I just want to add this. I agree. I dropped the video today talking about it. I basically agree with everything Lucas said. I think given that Travis Kelce, when you look at the Chiefs, although they added receivers, he's still the safety blanket. He's still the guy that's going to be focused. The offense will be focused around in the passing game. Sam LaPorta, you have Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like George Kittle with Brandon Ayuk, we'll see how that works out. But George Kittle is still going to be a big part of what they do. I think he's in that he'll be in that Kittle tier where they're going toe-to-toe. I just think with the volume Kelce gets, I think it's going to be tough for him. But I think over the next 2, 3, 4 years, when he's entering his prime, he's going to be the best tight end in football. I think that he's coming for that crown. But Booner,
before you pull that up, Jeff, I just want to say this. I think right now in the NFL, there's the tiers to the NFL to tight ends, and I think right now there's the top tier, which is elite. I like elite tight ends. I think that's George Kittle, Travis Kelce, and Sam LaPorta, and then it's the rest after that. Like then it's like T.J. Hawkinson, Mark Andrews. Like I do think there's that separation here, and I'm going to show you guys some numbers that I went and got to kind of prove to where I think when you get to this level and you have tight ends that are at like high level tight ends, they consistently get better year after year after year. And you kind of see that like their first year, it's like, all right, this is their floor. And then the next year you can see, oh, they're moving up, they're getting better. And I think LaPorta is part of that conversation. And I think right now it's like LaPorta's in the level now of George Kittle and Travis Kelce. I do want to ask you guys before I do this, because you guys are saying Travis Kelce is going to get a lot of touches. Are you guys taking into account all of the new wide receivers and weapons that the Chiefs now have game? Because that does, I think, he struggled last year, but I do think like he's not going to have, like, I think he's going to have an all-pro year as he always does, but it sounds like you guys think he's going to have a massive year and get a bunch of targets. But they do have Rashee Rice. Hollywood Brown came in. I'm missing Xavier. What's his name?
Xavier Worthy.
Xavier Worthy. They've added pieces.
I think what makes Travis Kelce, especially in big moments, so special is when Mahomes is making plays outside of the pocket. I don't think Mahomes was able to do that much this year given the receiving core. Now that he has a legitimate receiving core, one, it's going to take the pressure off of Travis Kelce because even when Rashee Rice was coming on, you're still more worried about Travis Kelce in the middle of the field than Rashee Rice. I think with Rashee Rice stepping in, Marquise Brown, Xavier Worthy, that's going to pin those safeties back. They got to worry about getting burnt deep, and that's going to leave Travis Kelce in a lot better situation. I do agree with you, Booner. I don't think Travis Kelce is the tight end he was 2-3 years ago. But in my opinion, he's still the best tight end in football because a lot of what he does is he just knows how to manipulate coverage. He has great chemistry with Mahomes, and he just knows how to get open. And I don't see that really diminishing that much. I think the production will be there. Absolutely. Maybe the yak drops off, but I still think he's a given 1,000-yard tight end this year.
I think he's going to have a big year. I just do think like with the weapons, like you could make the argument the weapons are going to leave him more open, but like it's Travis Kelce at the end of the day. Like even last year when they started getting guys to step up, they were still making sure they were getting an extra body on Travis Kelce every play. Yeah. And it was like you would rather give Hollywood Brown and Rashee Rice a one-on-one than and have two guys on Kelce than you would the vice versa. So that's where, but he still makes plays with that anyway. So I like that. So.
Like, think about like how good he was with Tyreek. Obviously, he's more athletic, but Tyreek absolutely helps out Travis Kelce just because you can't, as a tight end, you're not taking the top off of a defense. You got to get yak and you got to be able to maneuver the sideline and stuff like that, which he can do. But
yeah, and I don't have anything to add. I mean, that's well said. Like,
so. The numbers that I went and got, guys, this is basically, I went and got some of the elite tight ends around the NFL, and I went and pulled Sam LaPorta's rookie year, and you guys will probably know which one it is, and I pulled all the elite tight ends NFL's, their first year in the NFL. Now, there was one in there that his rookie year, he got hurt, so I took his second year, his rookie year that he played, and I just compared the stats. Like, all right, let's just take a look. Like, if we're trying to see how elite is Sam LaPorta compared to some of these other tight ends that have become some of the best in the league and some of the best in the NFL of all time. Like, I'm like, all right, I want to see kind of the start of these guys' careers and how they progress through their careers. Because, like, we could have the argument, is Sam LaPorta going to take a step back? Because we had that conversation a couple weeks ago. Like, what is the projection? Is he going to go back in yards, touchdowns? How does that work? All of these here, guys, like, if you just compare Sam LaPorta's rookie stats to these guys' first-year stats, it is mind-boggling what Sam LaPorta did his rookie year. And then if you want, and then the second part I did here is I went and got all of these elite wide receivers' second seasons in the NFL and compared it to Sam LaPorta, and it is even more mind-boggling. And so it's just like I just want to like put in perspective what Sam LaPorta did his rookie year and see how this man's about to take a step forward. And I have a projection here that I think Sam LaPorta is going to do at the end. And I want to know what you guys think. So Jeff, throw that up there. You boys see what I'm talking about here.
So are we?
Explain this?
Yeah,
What-
give more
sorry?
context.
So
So
this
this
is
is rookie year, or
this is rookie season. So the green one there, I'm sure you guys know who that is. That's Sam LaPorta's rookie season.
Okay.
And I left the names off just so we could put in context kind of the numbers, and then we could put the names in there. I probably should have just put the names in there now that I think about it, because I just gave you guys who Sam LaPorta was. But the first one is Travis Kelce's first season. It's technically his second year, but it's his first season playing because he had a broken leg, I think, his rookie year.
Okay.
So Travis Kelce that's year one for Travis Kelce. The third row, that's Mark Andrews, 500 yards, 16 games. Next one, that's TJ Hawkinson. And then the last one, that's George Kittle. So like these are all of the best, probably top 5 tight ends in the NFL, what they did to start their career off, and just put in perspective what Sam LaPorta did. Like dominated their numbers. You guys see what I'm saying here?
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I do.
Absolutely dominated.
It does, and you got to think and factor in too. And I'm sure there's been tight ends that have had to deal with this, but no one to the level of Sam LaPorta. The offense he's in, like how complex Ben Johnson, this offense, and how much responsibility he has in this offense, in the run game, in the passing game, and pass protection, and run blocking, like all this stuff that he's asked to do. Whenever he's asked to do it, I think the amount of the workload that's put on him, and being as great as he is, like I think that deserves a lot of praise, because I think the tight end is the hardest position on offense to play besides quarterback. One of the in this offense mentally, besides Frank Ragnow, I think tight end's up there for sure because of run fits and what they have to do in the passing game, and he's excelled. So I think that has to matter.
And kind of talking what you were just preaching on, Jeff, about as far as how balanced he is. When you look at a lot of these tight ends who put up numbers year one and they kind of drop off, you look at the Evan Ingrams, you look at the Kyle Pitts of the world. A lot of the times those guys are strictly receiving, and when they have injuries or something, they're off the field just because you can't really put much use for them in the blocking scheme, because one, they can't block as much as it is, and if they're dealing with injury, well, they're really not going to be able to block at all. And Sam LaPorta is a guy that you can stick out there and he can block defensive ends, linebackers, safeties, and honestly, he does it with ease when you talk about the linebackers and safeties, and he's only going to get better with that. So he's going to be on the field a lot more than some of these second-year tight ends, and given what he's already done, I don't see him dropping off in a major way. Maybe could I see him getting like 880 yards this year and 12 touchdowns? Yeah, I could see that happening, but I think it's more likely that he goes up. But as far as dropping off on a skill level, no, he's not going to be a Kyle Pitts or anything like that. Sorry, Jeff, not trying to take strays there, but that's just part of year two.
I love what we're doing here.
Hey, you should have put Kyle Pitts up here. 1,000 yards his rookie year.
Yeah. Hasn't even got it combined since then, I think.
Yeah, Kyle Pitts is a dog, huh, Jeff?
He is.
No, Kyle Pitts will be a very fine tight end this year. He'll be a top 6 tight end this year, maybe 7.
Oh, well,
I think he'll have like what Evan Ingram did this year in Jacksonville. I think Evan Ingram had like 3-4 touchdowns.
The stats, Klotzy. I don't look at stats. Better tight end.
Who? Kyle Pitts over who?
Okay, all right. We're not spending time on that. All right, Booner, you want the next?
Yeah. Do the next one. So this next one, I took one of the guys out, and I'll tell you guys who it is. I took out George Kittle out of this one, and I'll tell you guys why in just a little bit, because it has to do with kind of my prediction with Sam LaPorta. But I left in Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews, and TJ Hawkinson. So the first one there is Travis Kelce. Second one, TJ Hawkinson. Sam LaPorta is the third one, and then the last one's Mark Andrews. One thing I want you guys to notice on this is all of these guys' second season in the NFL. All of their second seasons, and that's still Sam LaPorta's first season. So like, if you just put that in perspective, these are some of the greats in the NFL. They all had an absolute increase. Most of these guys doubled their production outside of Travis Kelce from year 1 to year 2, and Sam LaPorta still beat them out his rookie year. And that's kind of to my point. I wanted to look at that because if you look at the bottom, Pro Bowls for all of them. Their rookie year, none of them made the Pro Bowl. Not one of them made the Pro Bowl. Sam LaPorta, Pro Bowl and All-Pro. Not one of them had any awards. Year 2, every single one of them made an increase, got better, improved. And I'm sure you guys agree with me on this, especially Klotz, like you said, as a tight end in the NFL, it's such a hard position to kind of get down right away, to where when you do get it down and you're able to start like figuring out, like LaPorta talked about it at minicamp, like now I'm able to focus on like the smallest things to kind of put my game together. That's where I think like the tight ends, and you see some of these greats here, all of them basically doubled their production into this year besides Travis Kelce. I think there's a chance based off these numbers, guys, because George Kittle, I should have just left George Kittle in there. George Kittle went from like 600 yards to like 1,300 yards from year 1 to year 2 and had like one of the biggest jumps ever as a tight end, like a crazy jump. And that's where I'm like, when I start looking at the numbers of the best tight ends in the NFL, their year 1 to year 2 jumps, I think Sam LaPorta is locked in, and he's looking at that and going like, I know how this game works now. I'm in second year with Ben Johnson. I'm another year in the NFL. I know what I need to work on. I'm with Jared Goff. I'm in Ross St. Brown. I think he goes out there and gets 1,100 yards as a tight end this year, and he goes and dominates and becomes an all-pro for a second year.
For that to happen, though, and this is my question, and I would love for that to happen. How many targets did he have last year? Does it say on there? Because I just think if he's going from 800 to 1,100 as a tight end, that's usually like that's 300 yards. That could be like a month of a season sometimes.
Yeah, 120 targets. 120 targets.
120 targets. So how many more?
But this is the conversation we had last time, where you said that you thought maybe he already was good at yards after catch and he maxed out on that. He was like that. That was one thing that he needed to work on this offseason is his yak. Like he was not great in yards after catch last year, and it might have felt like it, but I think he had like he had over 800 yards. He had 350 yards after catch last year.
I mean, that's almost half his yards, though. I think when you look at yak a lot of the times, I think yes, that's going to be something that develops more. But when you see year 1 is what I'm saying, like year 1, like that play he made week 2 against the Seattle Seahawks, where I think it was Ahmad Brooks, and it was another one of their safeties, and it was 3rd and 7, and he got it was just 8-9 yards after yak. But you see the balance that he has, his ability to fall forward. I do think I don't think he's maxed out with yak whatsoever. But when you have a guy like Amon-Ra St. Brown there, he's going to take away a lot of that yak within itself. That's why I think there's going to be room to grow. I just think that's why it's so important to remember the players around him, in my opinion.
But to me, it's like you lose Josh Reynolds, right? Like Sam LaPorta, he's not taking a step back in his role. Like his role is either the same as last year, or he's going to get, a bigger role because he's getting a year older. He's becoming more, he's a feel for the offense. Ben Johnson's worked with him for a year, and it's like, all right, they probably sit down this offseason. What can we work on? And it's like, all right, like there's more opportunities maybe for yards after catch, getting him in different positions, getting him open to where, all right, 350 yards after catch. George Kittle, like remember last time I brought up George Kittle here, I'll bring up his catches last year. He had 65 catches last year and over 1,000 yards, 65 catches. Sam LaPorta had 86. So he had like 30, like what was that? 26 more catches than him, or 20 something more catches and 200 more yards. So like there's improvement. I think that's like, it's the same thing as like, all right, I want to make sure I say this the right way. Like an Ali McNeil or someone who like this is like his first offseason in the NFL, where like he can get his body right for the whole season. He knows what he needs to work on, and he comes in like at a higher level. That's how I feel like Sam LaPorta is taking this offseason, where he knows like how he needs to trim down. He knows what he needs to work on. He knows the spots he needs to work on, whether that's yak, whether that's maybe he needs to get quicker and faster so he can get more yards. I think from year 1 to year 2, just like every single one of those tight end stats that I pulled up, all of them had a massive increase. And those are the best tight ends in the game. I put Sam LaPorta as one of the best in the game. I don't see the increase at all, or decrease at all. I think there's going to be a big increase, and it's going to come through whether it's yak or the offense, like whatever it is. I just do not see a way where he doesn't just make that jump this year.
Well, just to add too about the yak stuff, I'm looking at yak right now out of tight ends. Njoku had the most yards after catch with 599. Second was Evan Ingram with 508. George Kittle was third with 483. And then you have Travis Kelce, 469. And then you have Sam LaPorta. What was he at? 7th, I think. He was 358. Jake Ferguson had 425. So, Jake Ferguson was like 30 yards of having 100 more yards after catch. So, and he had a better year than Jake Ferguson. So I get that point. He also had a high, I think the second highest team percentage of targets, like targets according to the whole team. I think the number one was Evan Ingram. He had 23.6% of the team's targets. And then I think number two would be Sam LaPorta with 20.9%. So he's right there. I think Travis Kelce had 20.2% of the team's targets, and George Kittle had 19.1. So he had he was second among all tight ends and the percentage of teams' targets, behind obviously Amon-Ra St. Brown. That. So that would make sense. That's why it's tricky. Can he get the yak? I think the way he increases it would be yards after catch, and he wouldn't be a rookie anymore. So maybe right away they're clicking. But I think let me ask you real quick, Boone, and then Lucas. Do you think what do you think the ceiling of Sam LaPorta is? I know it's hard to put a ceiling on him, but what do you think at his best he looks like in his prime with Amon-Ra St. Brown on this team?
This year in his prime.
In his prime, like what do you think them just in this offense? Doesn't mean it doesn't take away anything from him as a player, but just with this offense, with Amon-Ra getting 1,500 yards, 1,400 yards this season, what do you think he can get to?
I think he could be like a 1,200 yard tight end. I think he like that the conversation with George Kittle, Travis Kelce, how like they could have a year where they go get 1,200 yards and 8 to 10 touchdowns. I don't see that as a crazy, like we saw the way he could play and we saw what he could do like as a rookie. Again, like I showed you guys the rookie stats compared to all of these guys and the increases. There's no signs of him not being able to take that step and do that. Now, is there going to be cases in years to where obviously Amon-Ra is going to go for 1,500 and maybe J-Mo breaks out and you have to spread the ball around a little bit? Yeah, but like I don't think Sam LaPorta, like if he's in the right position or this year is a perfect year for him with Josh Reynolds leaving, for him to find more targets and if he needs to step up for the team, I can see Sam LaPorta having a couple years in his career where he gets 1,200 yards, just like those two guys have in their career. I don't think that's
J-Mo getting 400 more, 400 more.
Yeah, I think through like if you look at like his 12-year career, just like you look at George Kittle's career and Travis Kelce's, they've both played. They've played with, really Tyreek Hill. They played with Deebo Samuel. Those guys have had 1,200 yard plus 1,300 yard seasons with those guys on their team. I wouldn't be shocked if there's a chance Sam LaPorta to do that a couple times throughout his career. I don't think that's crazy.
Is a tight end's best friend because just what we got done talking with Travis Kelce, with Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy, when you have Jamison Williams on the field, those safeties, those DBs are farther back. If Sam LaPorta makes a linebacker miss, which he typically does a lot of the times, those safeties are now 3-4 yards back. That gives Sam LaPorta 3-4 yards to recognize that safety, whoever it is, make a move on him, figure out what he wants to do, and that's how you increase that yak. So if J-Mo steps up as a wide receiver too, even if he has 500-600, how many yards, that's where you're going to see Sam LaPorta's receptions dip, but his yards per catch and his yards after catch, those will go up. And I think that's what really needs to happen for Sam LaPorta to be in that tier consistently, just because you talk about that, Booner. Like if Sam LaPorta gets more catches, like say he gets 90 receptions, his yard per catch is going to go down and his yards after catch are going to go down because more people are focused on him. Sam LaPorta is the type of guy where he's going to get fed regardless. You know what's going to happen, just like George Kittle. But if you give him more space to work because of the personnel around him, he absolutely can be a 1,200, possibly even 1,300 yard if something were to happen injury-wise. But I just don't think that happens this year. But eventually, I could absolutely see it happening. This year, I think ceiling-wise, probably like I would say ceiling is 1,100. I don't think he's going to reach it, but could I see it happening? Yes.
I just want to add context too. I said that Sam LaPorta was second among the tight ends. I was talking about in the targets per the entire team. TJ had 1.1% more. So TJ actually had 21%. Yeah,
but that's
I saw
Justin
Ryan
Jefferson being hurt too.
Yeah, exactly. I saw Ryan asked, "What about the yards, like the air yards or the per reception, basically?"
Yeah.
And he has 9.9. That's Sam LaPorta, air yards per reception, 9.9. Just to compare, Travis Kelce was 8.7. George Kittle was 13.1.
Yeah, that's why you talk about Kittle. Like that's again, this is not a knock towards Ben Johnson whatsoever. But when you have a coach like Kyle Shanahan and all those weapons, Christian McCaffrey out of the backfield, when you have George Kittle here and Christian McCaffrey right behind him, linebackers and safeties like, huh? Now you throw a motion in there. You got to worry about Ayuk, who's getting 1,400 yards. George Kittle on certain plays is now like the third guy you're thinking about. And that's when Kyle Shanahan goes, George Kittle, you're wide open, boop, and George Kittle has a ton of space to work. And that's where I think Sam LaPorta can really take that next step this year, just locking in refining the craft in his route running, and just let the game happen for him, because he's good enough to just manipulate any type of coverage or player in front of him.
Now, I want to mention this too. And do you guys get the feeling, and I think the chat agrees with me, like when we're playing the Chiefs or the 49ers, like in those games, I think on the other side of the ball, you're like, hey, like Travis Kelce and George Kittle, like we have to find a way to stop those guys. I think this season is a year to where anytime anyone plays the Detroit Lions, you're sitting there going, we have to find a way to slow Sam LaPorta down. And at the same time, like those guys had Tyreek Hill and those guys had Debo. You have, like, to your point, Clancy, you have another weapon, and like Amon-Ra St. Brown, to where it's like, well, you have to focus on him too. And I think Sam LaPorta, when he takes that jump, he was only a rookie. Like, I don't think people put that in perspective for how good of a season he had, that like he's still probably going to get bigger. He's going to be in the weight room. He's only going to get better and better as a rookie. So like he's going to get to a point to where he turns into one of those guys to where every single week, like you have to game plan for Sam LaPorta. Like it wasn't like that this year. Like it was because you got him the rock, but he was open a lot because no one really, they're like, oh, it's Sam LaPorta. But this year it's going to be like, you're on the tier with those guys. Like they're going to be locked into you, and he's going to turn into one of those guys as well. And that's where I think he starts taking those jumps. He's in the system for another season, and he becomes a more dominant player because of that.
And also, just to add in too, more context, just I saw, and I'll mention this again. I've already mentioned this on the show before, but Mina Kimes mentioning on her podcast about how 60% of the Lions' explosive plays came from the ground compared to other teams in the NFL, where 60-70% of their plays, typically explosive plays, are coming through the air. They're a team that wants to run the football, and they get big plays from doing that, explosive plays. So, that's what defenses go in game planning for. They're like, okay, their run game can just absolutely just absolutely get out of control for opposing defenses. But when you have Sam LaPorta and, Jared Goff's one of the best in play action, makes things more complicated. Amon-Ra St. Brown, same thing. So the middle of the field, it's going to be hell for a lot of defenses, because now you're trying to, they're running the ball, play action, boom, LaPorta, quick pass, boom, Amon-Ra St. Brown, quick pass. J-Mo hopefully can make this thing take the top off a little bit, open up those explosive plays. And Jared's also got to get the ball to him downfield, take more shots. But yeah, I think, his ceiling in terms of yards, I think 1,100-1,200 is like a fair thing, given that Amon-Ra is going to get 1,500 yards and J-Mo is going to be a really good player, I think. And Jahmyr Gibbs in the passing game, I think he has more upside there. That's a really good tight end, by the way. I think if he gets 1,100 yards, let's just say this year, that would put him top, just to give you a number, about top 20 among all tight ends, roughly all time, and in most receiving yards in a season, by the way. If he gets 1,200, he's top 15. So, if he gets 1,300, top 8. If he gets 1,400, it's just him and Travis Kelce. Well, I'm just saying, that's really this. Like, it's not common. These guys getting 12. Jimmy Graham had a 1,200 yard season before.
Jimmy Graham,
I just want to be shocked if he did, like, if he had a couple years in Detroit where he has 1,200. Because real quick, and that video too. Real quick. Yeah, I don't know why I said it like that. By the way, I almost choked on my Celsius over here. I was drinking it and I just started coughing. I don't know if you guys noticed that. I could not stop coughing.
Yeah, you were dying. We just kind of.
Yeah, just kept pushing through, and you guys just I kept talking. In that video, I watched the full hour video of the Bussin' with the Boys. It was a great video, the tight end like behind the scenes. They went to all of these big time tight ends there and asked, like, hey, who's the best tight end? Who's the best tight end? Like, essentially they were like at tight end you, but every NFL tight end's there. So it's like, who's the best tight end in the NFL right now? And the best tight end there is obviously, like, in the world or all time, is Travis Kelce. He's the only one that said Sam LaPorta. Every single other tight end there said either George Kittle or Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce was the only one that was like Sam LaPorta, and he's the best in the world. So I think that, like, that speaks volume. He could have said George. He could have said himself. He could have been like, I'm the best tight end here. No, I mean, a lot of guys do that. I think there was a couple guys there.
I don't know what happened.
I do think, but I do want to ask you guys this question here, and this is for the people in the chat too, Lions fans. I'm interested in this because when I was going through this like exercise and I was looking at this jump, one thing that stood out to me, because TJ Hawkinson was in all of these, and we saw his jump a little bit from 300 yards to like 600 or 700.
Yeah, and half of those were in week 1 against the Cardinals.
Yeah, but one thing that Detroit Lions fans didn't want to do, and it was a good thing, I believe it was Brad Holmes that did it, trading away TJ Hawkinson because he didn't want to pay him. Are Detroit Lions fans in a year or two okay with extending Sam LaPorta? That's my
Absolutely. And you don't think twice about it because this is
thank you.
me and Jeff when you were away, Booner. We kind of got in a debate between who would you. We did start, sit, cut, and we got in a little bit of a debate between Brian Branch and Sam LaPorta. And when you have that debate, that's a great situation to have because of both players that you re-sign because they're hard to find. You can't find arguably the best tight end in football. You can't find a player that is an all-pro type of player at 3 different positions. Maybe not at a wideout corner, but a guy that can play safety, nickel, and slot corner for you. So he's the type of guy that can do that. Sam LaPorta, if they don't re-sign him, I would be absolutely baffled. That's a player that you want to retire as a Detroit Lion.
Yeah.
All
right. I want to make sure we're on the same page here, fellas, because I was
and I'm sorry. Buy Jahmyr Gibbs. I'll take Sam LaPorta. You can I'll just try. I'm sorry. I'll say it. I don't give a fuck.
No,
I'm sorry.
and I'll agree with you there.
I'm sorry. And I love Jahmyr. I love Jahmyr as a player, but if we're talking financially, you ain't letting that man leave. That man is not leave. Pay him. You probably what's the most highest paid tight end right now? What is he getting paid?
I can pull it up.
Yeah, I'm just curious. I don't know off the top
I'd
of my
imagine
head.
Kelce.
Yeah, well, I don't know because Kelce has taken like cuts and stuff. You have to, but I think LaPorta would be a guy like obviously he's going to want money at some point. Yeah. He wants to like a lot of these guys do want to make their money, but at some point, I'm sure some of the people do have to realize that once guys get their first or second contracts, they start winning Super Bowls. Eventually, they will start taking cuts. So that is something in play. Travis Kelce, $17 million. He's by far the most. TJ Hawkinson, 16.5. George Kittle, 15. And the Dallas Goedert,
20 by the time he's up.
Both those boys thrown.
Dallas Goedert, 14.
It's going to be at 20 by the time he's up for sure.
Yeah. I'll pay it. Who did you guys pick to start bench start cut?
I started Jahmyr. I don't. You give me
what was it? Jahmyr Branch and LaPorta. I think I started LaPorta, bench Branch, and cut Jahmyr. Yeah. Wow, that just doesn't. It just.
I don't like that. I'm not answering that. I'm going to take a back seat on that one. I wasn't here for that. I'm not answering.
Yeah, well, it's a whole thing here. Well, speaking of tough conversations, fellas, it's time for our top 10.
Oh, I'm excited for this one.
Yeah, it's the off season. You know what that means? Top 10 list. Top 10 NFL quarterbacks. We're going to see where Jared Goff is ranked on our top 10. And
I will request to go last, please. I hate going first in these. I want to go last.
I'll go first. I'll go first. All right.
I have 3 pages of notes for mine, too.
Okay. Wings are, by the way, they're on the clock, I believe.
I'll keep an eye on it here.
Yeah, they were on the clock. All right. My top 10 list. Let's get into it. Here's my top 10 list. All right. I have Mahomes 1 for obvious reasons. I think we all should agree if you don't have Mahomes 1, I swear to God, you should rethink your entire existence with talking football. Patrick Mahomes is 1. Number 2, Joe Burrow. Yes. Joe Burrow. Number 3, Josh Allen. I think 2 and 3, you could sit there and argue about it. I prefer Joe Burrow, so I have Josh Allen at 3. I have CJ Stroud as high as 4. And I know it's early. He was a rookie last year. I don't care. That man is going to be one of the best QBs in the NFL moving forward, so I'm putting him there right now. Part of this is this upcoming season, I guess, foreshadowing a little bit. I guess it depends how you rank your list. But, again, I put CJ Stroud at 4. 5, I have Justin Herbert, someone who I think gets a lot of hate for weird reasons. I know they haven't been able to win, but as a quarterback talent, he is special. So he is top 5 to me. Lamar Jackson is at 6. I know people would say, well, 2-time MVP winner. I understand that. And I think Lamar is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He's top 6. But the thing I have, the thing I still question about Lamar, besides, he played the Lions and absolutely ripped them to shreds, is killing teams through the air. That's where these other guys are able to do that. Lamar is a freak of nature when it comes, I think in terms of putting fear in my eyes, Lamar ranks up there in terms of putting fear in guys' eyes when they're playing them. But just quarterbacks, yeah, I'm going to put him at 6. Aaron Rodgers is at 7. This one, hey, tore his Achilles last year. I get that. but we can't forget 2 years removed from multiple MVPs. And he's coming back this season. I know he's a diva. He's probably smoking ayahuasca in the offseason. I get
Out
that.
in the Middle East right now to be in a training camp.
He's an odd guy. He's an odd guy, but you can't deny the talent even at 40 years old. So I'm still putting him there. And really, once we get to the season and we do weekly quarterback rankings, things could change. But right now he's 7th. 8th, I have Matthew Stafford. I respect Matthew Stafford, and I think he's very, very good. A little bit of a simp, but that's not nor the hero nor there. I think he's very talented, and I think he's one spot above Jared Goff. I have Jared at 9, which is good, by the way. I know people would argue, why do you have Jared at top 5? Top 10, being a top 10 quarterback in this league, I mean, it's very hard to come by. To have those guys, and the Lions have a top 10 quarterback, you could probably debate more the back half of this list. I think the first 6 are undebatable. You just can't debate it, in my opinion. After that, if you think Jordan Love's better than Goff, okay, we can switch them. But I think Jared is better than Jordan Love until Jordan Love goes out there this year and repeats what he did the last stretch of games last year. And again, that's where I have him. So I have Matthew 8, Jared at 9, and Jordan Love at 10. So there's my top 10 list.
Okay.
I don't hate it.
Jeff, there's really nothing that I disagree with. There's a couple of things that we have switched around, but I think they're very similar.
Bad. This is bad because that means we all have a very similar list. Because I have a similar list to Jeff, just a couple flipped around here.
All right. We'll have lists that are different, but it's okay to agree for once, Boone.
I see.
I like agreeing. I told you boys the other day, I don't like arguing all the time. The people think I love to argue.
Well, let's see some other people's lists, because I think, not other people's lists necessarily, but people's opinion, because I think the chat deserves to have a voice here. So let's hear. Lions Den says Stroud should be at like 9. He's not there yet.
Talent-wise, I think he is. So that's where I'm at with it. Like, if you just pure talent, CJ Stroud's up there.
I just think as a rookie in that situation, to lead them to the playoffs and to play as well as he did as a rookie, his ability to process is unbelievable. And I'm sorry, Ohio State quarterbacks, that's one thing people bring up, the processing, because of the benefits of playing with those players. That dude can process information. I don't give a damn about a Wonderlic test or anything. He is special. And I know people, when you look at stats, you're like, well, 20-something, he had 23 TDs or whatever. No, next year, watch, he'll have 30 plus touchdowns, under 10 interceptions, and people will put him there. Then I'm putting him there now. So that's my my reasoning on that. But let's get to you guys' lists, and then maybe we can differentiate, what we disagree with, what we don't disagree with. So there's my list, Lucas. We'll get yours up here, and then we'll break yours down. So, all right, let's get to Lucas's. I think this is Lucas.
Pull him up.
Sure. Okay, this is.
I know one thing that Boone's not going to like, at least, but I'm staying consistent on it.
Don't tell me Josh Allen's outside the top 5. That's going to be a problem.
No, I'm not.
All right, well, let's get the Klotzy here. All right, Klotz, what do you got?
All right, so just like Jeff's top 5, mine is the exact same thing. Patrick Mahomes, to Jeff's point, if you disagree with it, go read a book. Just do something besides waste your time on saying that Patrick Mahomes is not the best quarterback in the NFL. Everyone knows how I align with the Joe Burrow and Josh Allen thing, but those two are very similar in what you can do with them as far as being elite quarterbacks in the NFL. Their styles are different, but how they win games, they just find a way to do it, and they carry their team. So those are 2 and 3. And to Jeff's point about CJ Stroud, there's times, especially when rookies, they have like moments where you're like, oh my God. CJ Stroud was having multiple moments every week. And it wasn't just with the throws down the field. There was times where he's throwing over the field, over defenders on a check down pass to the running back with touch. And you're like, what the fuck did I just watch? Like, how is he able to do that as a rookie? It's week 8 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. How is this kid doing this? So CJ Stroud, Jeff, to your point, he's going to be a top 5 quarterback at the end of the season. All that's going to matter is time, and I don't really have to waste any of it. I know he's a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. Justin Herbert, his arm talent is just up there with Patrick Mahomes. It's not there, but Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, those are probably the best arms in the NFL. And the guy that's right behind him is Matthew Stafford. I still think with his age, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I know I dog on him a lot for what he did in Detroit, but with LA, he's been an elite quarterback, and that's not going to stop. Lamar, I have behind him. Lamar, I think it's a lot of flack, especially this year for the playoffs. But if you watch that playoff game, you're like, what the hell is the Baltimore coaching staff doing? They got to that point by running the ball, using Lamar as a running threat, and then being able to have him create plays short. And it's short with the check down game and over the middle of the field. They were trying to air that ball out with Lamar, and it was just a coaching malfeasance, in my opinion, that playoff game. Obviously, some blame has to go on Lamar, but I feel like when you look at the receivers that Lamar's had throughout his career, yeah, he's not going to put up numbers through the air, especially when he's a mobile quarterback. Aaron Rodgers, if people want to say that Aaron Rodgers should not be on the list, that's fine. But 2-3 years ago, he was argued to have the best arm talent in NFL history. Now, Patrick Mahomes has put his name up there, but just because Aaron Rodgers suffered an Achilles injury, I don't think that makes him a not top 10 quarterback in the NFL. I think 8's a little low, to be honest. I think Aaron Rodgers is the guy that's going to just come out this year on a mission. If he stays healthy, he's going to be a top 5 type of guy as well. Jordan Love and Jared Goff is where I think the conversation gets interesting, but it just goes back to kind of what I was saying with CJ Stroud. Jordan Love had so many moments last year with how he was able to handle himself, with the platform throws that he was making, with his playmaking ability, not to mention just how valuable he was to that team. Not saying that Jared Goff is not valuable to the Detroit Lions. Obviously he is. But when you talk about Jordan Love to Jared Goff, who's more valuable for the team having a good game? If they have a bad game, having success, I think Jordan Love is a little bit more valuable to that offense. So that's where I differentiate it. But Jared Goff's still a top 10 quarterback for me.
I do. Like you said, I have a similar list. You have Jordan Love over Goff, which, I disagree, but like we're nitpicking over one spot.
Yeah.
Like we've had this conversation before. Other than that, I mean, not too much is really different. Before we get to Booners, just so we can take more time here, so we don't just like play and be like, all right, cool. Let's get to some comments we can address. And this is about the CJ Stroud stuff, and then we'll get to some other ones. The Lions Den says 1 year to win it all, guys. Stroud, Goff, or Stafford. Who are you taking?
1 year
with the perfect roster around you.
Same roster, yeah. Call it perfect, whatever.
Perfect.
Right?
I'd go. Like right now, I'd probably go Matthew Stafford because he's done it. He's a vet, and his arm, like he has the arm. Like that's the thing. Like if you're talking about a healthy Matthew Stafford with the arm that he has and the experience he has, and you're guaranteed for him to be healthy, Matthew Stafford 100 times. Dude, he did it a couple years ago. CJ Stroud, like, you know what I mean? Like he's already done it. He could do it. So that's why I would go Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, I think it's hard not to say Stafford, just to what Booner was saying, is he's done it before, and I think he's still playing at a level where he can do it again. CJ's absolutely at a level where he can do it, but there's still a learning curve in the playoffs.
Yeah, I would go Stafford, but we can't just go off that because because then Stafford is better than CJ. But I get I get the list. Yeah, no. I would do it for experience too. Like because he's like you guys said, he's experienced. CJ's a rookie. Now he's going to his second year. I trust Matthew's seen a lot more. Like there's other stuff that goes into it. But I factor in like upside, talent, what this player can be, what he's shown me. Like Matthew as a rookie, go look. I mean, he was not CJ. If we're going just pound for pound as a rookie. Yeah. So like, how do we take that into consideration? You know what I mean?
I just think for 1 year, just for this year, 1 year.
Yeah, I would go Stafford over Stroud. It would be probably slightly, but I would go Stafford because he has more experience. Dude,
if you take health out of it too, like I have CJ Stroud over Stafford, and it's because like CJ Stroud, he's gonna like. I think like CJ Stroud this year is going to have a massive year, a potential MVP candidate. He's going to be in that conversation this year. So like
they're going to be giving him hell though, Booner.
They will for sure. But like the players that he has around him, the opportunity he has right now in Houston with that defense that they put together and the weapons that they gave him, like put Matthew Stafford on that team, and that's like probably almost a Super Bowl favorite. And I just think CJ Stroud, yeah, he's still a year two, so he still has to figure out things, but like. Yeah, if you put Matthew Stafford on this Texans team and you're guaranteed for him to be healthy throughout the playoffs and with that team, that's going to be a team you don't want to play in the playoffs. And CJ Stroud, I think like his talent and his upside's right up there. It's just about he's younger, he's healthier, maybe a little bit more mobile right now, and that's why I would have CJ Stroud over Matthew Stafford heading into this season, like in 2024.
Well, let's look at this comment. From Kryptonic. Now, one of those quarterbacks has better arm stats since 2017 over Goff, not named Mahomes.
And that's
let's get to my list because I have stats and stuff off all of that.
All right.
Look, there's just times where, and this is where I lose my mind with stats, is where if you're talking about who's the best player at their position, level the playing field and then you decide. Because when you start throwing in stats, you got to put context with everything, and you're just going to be running in circles. Level the playing field, act like they all have the same roster, and who would you take? Base it off the player's talent, and then add in it's what?
I think stats have to do with it, like wins, touchdowns, Pat. Like I think that does. Like
absolutely. Like I'm not saying they don't, but when you're talking about if you're going to add in context and stats like that, then it's just like, what are we doing here? Because you go, oh, Brock Purdy put up better numbers than Mahomes last year. Brock Purdy put up better numbers than Joe Burrow last year.
Yeah, but if you give context to it,
but
if you give context to it, it's worth something. Like you can't just be like, oh, Jared Goff has the most passing yards since then, and just leave it alone. You can't. No, like that. That's just discrediting him and not wanting to look at the facts of it as well. That's the problem.
Yeah, I mean, I and to this point too. That's why I don't necessarily go with stats. I mean, Easy says it. If that's the case, I could say Goff has the most interceptions since 2017. I mean, Josh Allen's number one, but Jared's third.
Look at his interceptions since he's been on the Lions.
Yeah, exactly.
It's different.
So it's like when
if you use it within a context and you take it correctly and you look at sample sizes and different.
Well, we know Goff's not that now. He hasn't been throwing that. Isn't that same player now.
That's why when I used to get the argument with Easy, he'd be like, "Well, he had the most turnovers since 2017." That doesn't matter because he's been in a new system and he's on a new team since 2021. So like that, none of that past matters to me. What has he done since he's been here? That's how I look at it. Like to Klotzy's point, if you can back it up and not run in circles with the stats, bring the stats and use them. That's where I'm at with like, especially quarterbacks. Like you have to be able to be like, let's watch the film and let's see what did he put stats up and did he play well? That all matters.
And this is where it gets it's a touchy subject because we have Goff in the top 10 and there's still like there's a problem. Like where would you put Goff then? If it's 8, 7, come on. Now you're fighting a battle that doesn't really even worth fighting. If you have him top 3, top 2, then yeah, fight that battle. But for a spot or two, it's like.
Where did you guys have Goff?
I had him at 8.
You had him at 9. You had him at 9.
9.
I had him at 10.
9 and 10.
Mm-hmm. 9. Okay, let's get the Booners. Booner, take it away. What do you got?
All right, here we go, boys. You guys like this?
I was just about to make a comment. Go ahead, Booner. Go ahead.
I know what you're mad about because when I talked to Jeff about it today, he was like, I don't know if Klotzy will like this. All right. Number 1, Patrick Mahomes. I'm not even going to talk about it. We already blah, blah, blah. No, Patrick Mahomes. He's the best quarterback in the NFL, back-to-back Super Bowl winner. Number 2, you guys already know where I'm at with Josh Allen. The fact that Josh Allen is number 2 on people's list, and he is like the only quarterback in NFL history to have like 4 straight years of 40-plus touchdowns. I don't care about the interceptions. 40-plus touchdowns and 40-plus touchdowns in 4
That's
straight years.
That's got to matter, though.
No. 40-plus touchdowns in 4 straight years. Only one in NFL history to do it. That is something. That is elite.
He's the only one?
I think he's the only one in NFL history to have 4 straight years of 40-plus touchdowns. I could be wrong. I heard the stat on TV. TV stats sometimes can get you. So you guys.
But I get what you're saying though, Booner. His production
that's insane.
As far as combine it through the air and on the ground, it's nuts.
Yes. Like and Klotz, to your point to the last thing, take away teams and what he's done. If you just look at pure talent with arm strength and leg strength, you could argue it's just him and Patrick Mahomes, and then there's no one else. Because the dual threat of those two is the most insane thing that anyone's ever seen in the NFL. So that's why I have 1, 2. He needs to figure out his turnovers. That's a fact. Like he needs to figure it out. Maybe that's why you guys have him below Burrow, but I think just pure talent, Joe Burrow is more talented than, or Josh Allen's more talented than Joe Burrow. So I put him at 2. Number 3, Joe Burrow. A healthy Joe Burrow throwing for 4,500 yards and 35 plus touchdowns every year. When he's healthy, he does that. I mean, that's one of the best in the league. So I put him at 3. I did put Lamar 4. You guys had him a little lower.
Mm-hmm. Preach a little bit, Boone.
It's just for me, he's a 2-time MVP. And I know Jeff's like, I don't care if he's a 2-time. He's a 2-time MVP. And I am one of the ones that said last year was one of the weaker MVP performances that I've seen in the NFL. But he's still one of the best dual threat quarterbacks in the NFL. And he causes issues for defenses. And would I rather go up against CJ Stroud or Lamar Jackson? I probably would rather go up against CJ Stroud because Lamar Jackson's going to cut your defense up, and now you add Derrick Henry on that offense. No, that's just me personally. You might not.
No,
think so,
I'm
but
giving you a hard time, but
especially for what he's done to the Detroit Lions over the last couple years. I would rather go up against CJ Stroud and say, let's figure out the pass game and we'll battle on offense. But Lamar Jackson, what he does on the ground is one of the toughest things to guard. And now you add in Derrick Henry to that. If you would give him some good wide receivers, like give him a good wide receiver core, I'm sure his game goes to a different level. So that's why I went Lamar at 4. 5, similar spot that you guys had, CJ Stroud, I think.
Yeah, one spot. Yeah.
I think that's more so of like his ceiling and what he did last year, the greatest rookie season of all time. Sorry, guys. This flu that I had this week, I think that's why I'm coughing so much. Let me take a drink. Cheers.
Cheers.
I
took a cough drop too. I'm trying. I'm fighting through.
All right.
I'm fighting through adversity over here with a cough and sickness. 6, I have Justin Herbert. Guys, I don't know where you guys are at with Justin Herbert. If you watch Justin Herbert play and you just put the stats in there too, this man had in 2021 over 5,000 passing yards, 38 touchdowns, and 15 interceptions.
Mm-hmm.
That is one of insane.
I think he's literally, now that Matthew Stafford is like on the way out, Matthew Stafford is now on the way in with Justin Herbert. I think they're clones of each other.
Yes, and he's going to be one of the best when he actually, like, now that he has Jim Harbaugh, and Jeff, you always talk about this. Jim Harbaugh is one of the best football minds in all of the world. Now that he has someone around him who knows what they're doing and who hopefully can turn this thing around and give him opportunities, his career is about to take a jump start, and he's going to be a top 5 quarterback consistently in the NFL for the next 6 to 7 years, in my opinion. So I'm going to go Justin Herbert at 6. 7, Matthew Stafford. I don't think we have to explain it. He's got the best arm in the game. Him, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, like the way that, like the throws he can make, what he can do in his mind, he's one of the best in the game of all time. So him, I'll go Stafford 7. This is where things get a little mixed up, because I know Easy's in the chat. Klotz had Jordan Love over Jared Goff. I had Jared Goff over Jordan Love.
That's fine. I can live with that. I can't live with something else that's on your list that you're still ducking.
And the reason I did that, though, because I want to explain this, because Mina Kimes did talk to Easy, I think, and them about the Jordan Love, Jared Goff stuff. I get her point about how the Jordan Love's talent. Jared Goff over the last 2 years has been played at a very, 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 very high level consistently. And I don't care. You could say, well, he had Ben Johnson, he had this, he had that. Like, that's just like all these guys on this list have good OCs, have good offensive lines, have good players around them. Most of them do.
Mm-hmm.
Jared Goff has done it for 2 years at an extremely high level. And a half a year of Jordan Love, his ceiling's higher. I will admit that.
Yeah.
But to say, no, Jordan Love over Jared Goff 10 times out of no, Jared Goff has done it for 2 straight years at an extremely high level and has won games. He is 2nd in passing yards the last 2 years, 3rd in touchdowns in the NFL the last 2 years. And if you don't want to just go stats, he's 4th in quarterback wins the last 2 seasons. He is every single quarterback stat you want, anything you want a quarterback to do. Jared Goff has done that. And Jordan Love only has done it for, 8 games, an 8-game stretch. So that's right now for me, it's the consistency. Like, they've both played at a high level. One's done it longer than the other. So I'm going to take that one for now. I'm really fighting. I'm battling over here. This is crazy.
I think the only reason I'm so adamant on Jared Goff behind Jordan Love is just because with Jordan Love, he sat. And I think when you talk about being able to continue success when you're a quarterback who sits, I think when you look through the NFL, those quarterbacks have more success. And to your point, Jared Goff has been operating at an elite level. So if Jordan Love doesn't continue, then it should go to Jared Goff 100% over him. Just because, he has the system, he has the roster, but it's still hard to put up consistent good play and win for that long at the quarterback position, the hardest position in all of sports, I would argue. But Jordan Love, I just have him over because I think he can do similar things with Jared Goff as far as winning games in Green Bay, maybe not to the extent with the Lions in the division. And then there's just plays that Jordan Love can make that Jared Goff can't. So that's why it's the one spot for me. But I'm not going to be, how do you have Jared Goff over Jared? Like, I'm not going to throw a fit over it.
Yeah.
It's just that's why I lean that way.
And I think we're wore out because we've had this conversation and we
So
kind of
much.
come to an agreement to like, hey, I'm not going to hate you either way. I really don't. The reason why me and Boone, I think, are in lockstep, Boone, and I think you would agree with this, is the skepticism of how that sophomore year looks. You know, that's like there is part of that. I hate doing I gotta see it all the time. I hate those people. But in this case, I'm kind of contradicting myself because there's a part of it where it's like CJ was just so good.
You couldn't deny it. Like you guys
Jordan
know
was,
how much
CJ did it for a whole season.
Stroud.
He
And
did
by
do it
week
for a
3,
whole
I was
season.
like, this dude's got it. Like, there's no denying.
It was just, there was no like dip. Like with Jordan, it seemed like the last stretch of games since like Thanksgiving, something clicked. And that's scary. It's very scary. But I think we gotta see a full season of that. And I don't have a problem with you saying he's a spot higher. I really don't.
And Easy says Jordan Love has a higher skill set than Jared Goff. That's true. He has a higher ceiling and has a higher skill set. I don't think that's what we're denying. But right now, going into 2024, Jordan Love, to start the year, he struggled last year. There was a point in last season where Green Bay Packers fans, they were one game away from saying, let's bench Jordan Love. I don't know if you guys remember that. They were one game away, and they were, I remember, I think we did a pregame show where we did something, and it was like everyone was having the conversation on Twitter to where everyone was like, if Jordan Love doesn't play good this week, he's going to get benched, and there's going to be a conversation on whether or not he's actually the future. And then he went on a great stretch of football, but you have to see it like consistent before it's like, okay, nope, he's actually that, because you did see it. But like, again, if we want to split it up in 2 years, there was the same amount of sample size last year of him being a really bad quarterback and the fan base saying we might need to move on from him. It's the same sample size of them saying he's a really good quarterback and he's our future. There was the same size of both ways there. So like, you have to, if you're going to use that argument, you have to look at the bad and say, okay, there was this sample size too, where they were this close away from moving on from Jordan Love, a week or two away from doing it. And then I did hear Mina Kimes did say like, oh, well, did you watch the Thanksgiving game versus that's the worst. No offense, Mina. That's the worst thing to say. The Detroit Lions defense and secondary was terrible. Like, he should have done that.
Some of the windows that he was
it was great.
The slant to Jaden Reed with Brian Branch draped all over him, and it hit him.
And by the way, Easy saying Love had less picks. He had one less pick. Let's move on from that.
And Booner, to kind of back you up a little bit, I do have Jordan Love in front of Jared Goff. But when you're talking about, and I think specifically with the quarterback position, if you don't have the highest skill set, that doesn't rule you out, because you look at Joe Burrow, you can't tell me it's the highest skill set. No, but he knows how to analyze defense. He has a great arm. Jared Goff doesn't sniff the arm of Joe Burrow. But Joe Burrow, he's athletic. He can move in the pocket, but he doesn't have the highest skill set. I just think there's players that when you look at the NFL, were put on earth to play this position when you talk about sports. And I think Jared Goff is not at the highest level, but if he was going to play any position in football, it was quarterback. And it's because he's not athletic. But Jared Goff knows what he's good at, knows what he's not, and he excels with that. And I think quarterbacks a lot of times, just like Dak Prescott, who Booner's going to get into in a second, they try to play Superman. They try to act like something they're not. And that takes a lot of, in my opinion, swallowing your ego and being able to just let your skill set go and know, like, okay, I'm not ever going to be able to throw the 7-yard bomb down the field, but I can throw 3 20-yard passes and get a 6 yards down the field in 3 plays. How do I do that? How do I get these guys open? That's what Jared Goff excels at, and that's a skill set within itself. Yeah,
that's I just think like we could argue, like I think we all agree. Like, I think Easy's point of his saying is Jared Love has a higher ceiling and his skill set is better. Like, a lot of quarterbacks are than, some of these guys. Does that mean he's going to be like that for the next 2 or 3, 4 years? No, it's the NFL. Like, there's guys that have one good year and show an insane skill set and they drop off quick. That happens. So like, when I'm saying like, who do I want in my team? Who do I want as a quarterback and doing rankings? All right, who's been consistent and who keeps doing it? Who did it last year and who do I think is going to do it this year? All of that goes into account. It's not always just, oh wow, he had a good 3-game stretch, I'm going to throw him at the top of the list. That man threw for 400 yards and ran for 100 yards for 3 straight games to end the season. Like, that dude's going to be crazy, man. Oh, like, I want to see some consistency a little bit, especially in the league, man. People drop off all the time. Yeah. All right, last one here. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah.
We got
I've got one more. No, okay. I want to take this a
out of
different
there
approach,
without
Klotzy.
bringing it up.
Klotzy, I want an open mind here, and I want to take this as a different approach here. And the
All right.
people know this, and the same with the chat. Before people start going, oh, Dak. No, I want to make it clear. I hate the Dallas Cowboys. Don't want to talk about the Dallas Cowboys. I don't know why I have this man on my list right now because I don't like the Dallas Cowboys.
I don't know why you do either, Booner. I don't. I don't.
But I wanted, and I had a thought today, and it went through my head. And I don't know why this went through my head because I've never been a Dak guy. But I looked at his stats last year, and I looked at a couple of the years he's had, and I've watched, and I've seen him play in big games and make some big throws. Klotz, you've seen him make some big throws, haven't you? Yes.
Oh yeah, Derek Barnes and Kendall Vildor laying out 9 yards on the field.
Outside of those, I'm saying, have you made him make big? You've seen him make big throws. Yes, maybe right. You've seen him. I told Jeff this today. I would like to see Dak Prescott gone from the Dallas Cowboys. That man is in the worst position that any quarterback could be. Tony Romo couldn't win there. Dak will never win. This guy needs to get out of Dallas as fast as he can. I think he's not going to extend, and I think he's going to go sign somewhere else. Because I have a feeling if this man, Dak Prescott, somehow, some way gets to a different organization with a legit, competent GM and owner and a head coach and actually a good, like just competent people around him and a team that can teach him, you can't tell me Dak Prescott doesn't have an arm and has some sort of skill set. Like, he does. And if he just gets put in a position where people can sit him down and like, this is how, let's do this, this, and this man's put numbers up throughout his career. My only reason I put him at 10 is because last season he was in the MVP conversation for a while. He had, what did he have? I wrote it down here. 4,500 yards, 36 touchdowns, led the NFL in touchdowns, and only 9 interceptions. I think if he wasn't on the Dallas Cowboys and you put him on, I don't know, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, or I don't even know. Like, I could just go to any team that no one hates. Dak probably would get talked about a little bit higher here because every quarterback rankings I've seen around the NFL the last 2 months, Dak's like 6th or 7th. I think in Detroit, we're the only ones that put him outside the top 10 because we hate the Dallas Cowboys and we would love to go at Dak. If you put him in a different franchise, and this man, he is handcuffed right now. If you just cut those chains and just say, fly, baby, fly, go somewhere else, Dak Prescott might actually be looked at a little bit differently. And I think that's like nationally. So, and I know in the playoffs he's struggled, but again, I think it's situation and being in Dallas with Jerry Jones and like the teams and the coaches. I just think if you put him in the right position, this man has shown nothing at some points with talent. Like, he has it. It's just people just love to hate on him because he's the Cowboys quarterback.
I think the big thing with Dak is postseason disappointments. Right? People bring up the playoffs, but I will say this: I'm not a big Dak guy, but I do think Dak. You cannot deny that he gets hated on more because of the franchise he's a part of. That has to come with that. Like, I saw something the other day with Dak. Dak is top 10. And I know this process is however you want. Klotzy's not going to like this. I'm just saying this to put it out in the ether. I'm just saying this because if it was said about Jared Goff, we would say something different. Dak is top 10 in NFL history in completion percentage, touchdown to interception ratio, and passer rating. Like, I'm just like, if we look at the number, if you put him, let's say he was on the Seahawks, like, for example, or any other team,
that's a great example.
Probably be looking at him a little differently. I wouldn't still have him like super high on my list.
I
don't
think
get
that's
where Booner's
crazy.
coming from.
I don't think, like, guys, and before you go, Klotzy, because I want to hear, like, if you look at any quarterback rankings outside of probably Detroit, Dak Prescott's 6, 7, 8. Like, almost everyone. Like, I was going through today because I was like, am I crazy for having Dak there? And I went and looked at some to like see where they have them. He's up there in every single one. And we're the only ones that put him outside the top 10. And then I just start thinking, I think it's a Dallas thing. And like the numbers that Jeff brought up, the numbers that he's put up last year, 36 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. I don't care like what offense or who you're playing for. That's an elite. Like, if Joe Burrow did that, we're bowing down to Joe Burrow. Like, Joe Burrow did that, or Justin Herbert, we're bowing down to Justin Herbert. It's like, why aren't we having this? Like, why do we just keep doing this with Dak? Like, get this man out of Dallas, let him go be in a franchise where people can actually look at him as a normal quarterback and let this man blossom.
I don't know about 60 million, but continue, Lucas.
The money, take the money out of the way.
Dak is a quarterback who is good and occasionally plays great. But the reason that I'm not a fan of Dak Prescott is because Dak Prescott has won absolutely nothing and has been in nothing but a great situation since he's been drafted. He was drafted in the 4th round with Ezekiel Elliott and has had 3 Hall of Fame offensive linemen, 1 Hall of Fame offensive lineman at all times in front of him. He's had Amari Cooper. He's had CeeDee Lamb. You can keep going down the list of all the weapons he has. He had Dan Quinn on the back end on defensive side with loaded defenses, and then he's had average defenses. But Dak Prescott is a guy who has constantly done nothing and wants to be paid the highest, and that's just something I do not admire. I don't think Dak Prescott is a quarterback. This has nothing to do with his personality, the man he is off the field. Dak Prescott is a quarterback who has not yet found exactly what he is as an NFL quarterback because he's still trying to make the Patrick Mahomes type of plays when he's Dak Prescott. So when you talk about putting a top 10 list together, do I think he has a good skill set? Yes. I don't think it's an elite skill set. I think he has a really strong arm, but I do think he does lack some accuracy issues in big moments in the middle of the field and shorts. Not to mention his clock management issues. And then when you talk about, Aaron Rodgers is still alive. There is no way in hell I'm putting Dak Prescott on a top 10 list and leaving Aaron Rodgers off. That's just me. But when you talk about all the things that Dak Prescott has done in his career, the talent, and then you're like, Aaron Rodgers is in New York with Garrett Wilson, improved offensive line, a top 2 defense, in my opinion, I'm going to take that guy. I think
Aaron Rodgers didn't play a football game last year.
Prescott's the guy who's in that top 10 bubble. But just in my opinion, until you do something meaningful in Dallas with that roster, I just can't respect you as a top 10 quarterback.
Now, Booner, real quick, I read this stat too, which is another knock. There's positives and negatives, dude. Booner, it's the roller coaster round with Dak. All right. The other side is I think the Dallas Cowboys have had the most Pro Bowlers since like 20,
which is
I don't know the year, but he's had a lot of talent. I can't deny it. I'm not denying that, but like he still put the numbers up. It's like Jared Goff. He's had a Pro Bowl offense, and he has the best offensive line in the NFL. We're not going to knock him for having that. He puts the numbers up and wins games. He won in the playoffs.
Dak doesn't win.
He wins in the regular season, just not the playoffs.
And with Jared Goff, Dak's had elite defenses and elite offenses at the same time.
So to that point, and then all right, so to that argument, then you should drop Lamar Jackson from wherever you're at off the top 10 list because he doesn't win either. It's a similar thing. He puts stats up, wins regular season games, and doesn't win. Put stats up, win regular season games, doesn't win in the postseason. Take Lamar Jackson off your top 10 list. Take him off your top 10 list. Lamar Jackson was drafted in Baltimore. You keep talking, let me talk here. I'm about to pull Booner. Oh, you all right over there? Got you choked up over there. Hey, buddy.
Lamar Jackson was drafted in Baltimore where they were running a pro-style offense, and his wide receiver one his rookie year was rookie Hollywood Brown, who weighed less than me, and you had rookie second-year tight end Mark Andrews out there, and they ran the ball. The room for his arm to develop still hasn't been maximized, and he's won 2 MVPs. He's playing in the toughest division in football consistently. The NFC East, it's a fucking wash-up for who's in the first place division every year. I understand that the Eagles are nice, but look at the Eagles this year. Ass. They're going to be good again this year. Cowboys, ass. The Cowboys aren't going to make the playoffs this year. And in my opinion, if you have a top 10 quarterback, you should be in the playoffs. Dak Prescott, you can go 3-13 in the regular season. But when you need to win big games, that man chokes on fucking big games like Mia Khalifa. It's just something that I've never seen before. How are you in the NFC divisional round and the season ends on Ezekiel Elliott under center, snapping the ball to you on a spike? That is Dak Prescott.
I'm not having this argument with you because this is just personal to you. You just don't like Dak Prescott. You don't.
I don't. As a football player, I don't, and I'm telling you why. It's not like it's like he's not good. There's when you're talking.
Keep talking.
I wasn't done.
No, keep going.
I wasn't done.
Keep going.
The point is, Dak Prescott is a good
go for the next hour.
Occasionally great, but I cannot tell you a moment where I've been like, you know what? Dak Prescott went out there and just absolutely proved me wrong this season. I've never had that. And in my opinion, the guys like Lamar Jackson, CJ Stroud, and I would say even Matthew Stafford have proved me wrong in big ways, and that's why they're all in my top 10.
All right, you done?
I am.
All right. I love your rankings, but sometimes your rankings, you just do it off of I just hate this guy. I don't like this guy. I just hate this guy. No, let's look at actual
I didn't say one
meaning. Football. Half of your rankings, you'll argue it off. Let's just take all the stats away. Let's take the wins away. And let's just look straight on. Let's just look at the film. And then the other part of your top 10, you want to go, well, the stats, the wins, the playoffs. Like, let's be consistent here. That's where that's all I want with the top 10 rankings. Be consistent. If all those arguments that you guys made for the other 9 players on your list were stats, were wins, were all these different things, Dak Prescott is probably a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. He was in the MVP conversation at points of this season, multiple times in his career.
So was Brock Purdy.
He's won playoff games. He's put
Brock
the stats
Purdy
up.
has too.
All right. It's a complete different situation. The argument you make for different players on the top 10 is completely different. There's no consistency.
I didn't say one stat. I talked about, you brought up Lamar Jackson. I talked about the offensive style he was brought into and the receiving core that he talked about. I didn't bring up one stat there. I didn't bring up a stat the whole time. I talked about Dak Prescott in big moments, his clock management, and how he's been able to produce pretty much nothing with loaded rosters. Not one stat
has
there.
Has he ever won a playoff game?
As Dak Prescott, he's probably won 3 or 4. He's got some wild card wins under his belt.
Never wins in the playoffs, man. Never.
Well, he's made it farther technically. Championship game. I don't think Dak's ever made a championship game. That's like that would be.
We're not comparing Brock Purdy to Dak right now. I'm having Dak at 10, and that's it.
Yeah.
I don't think it's that crazy. Like, if you look at any NFL quarterback rankings around the world, we are probably the only show that doesn't have Dak. Detroit is probably the only city that doesn't have Dak Prescott in the top 10. The only one. Go pull up 10 examples and get back to me. They all have Dak in the top 10. Way higher than I have him. Way higher.
In my list.
That's because your list is just a biased list. It's a biased list, which is fine.
I didn't have Dak on mine either.
All of our lists are biased because they're our own list.
I'm
just presenting what the real world and what hey, if we break down these players, this is probably more realistic than not. And like the argument being like, "What, Dak on your list is a catastrophe?" No, like that's not that crazy.
He's a great quarterback in the top 10 bubble. He's just not breaking the top 10 bubble because he's got to do other things that the quarterbacks on there.
For 95% of people, he's in the top 10.
One thing I will disagree with is I don't look at other people's lists when I do mine. That came off the dome. All right. So you believe Booner, he's top 10. It was 10.
I think there's an argument that he's 10. I'll have him at 10.
Okay,
and then
that's
it could switch.
Okay. I get that. That's fair. I love that. All for a couple spots. That was all for
but
2
bro,
spots.
it's just like it's not one way or the highway.
No, absolutely not. But that where I was like, dude, like you were like, you bring up stats. I didn't bring up stats at all.
No, you did. Half of the players you did, half the players you didn't.
Which ones did I bring up stats for?
Half of them.
Wait, what?
Booner, you should know by now because Jeff already.
You should know by now.
Rarely do I talk about a top 10 list and bring up stats. Rarely, unless the players are very similar in skill sets.
Right here,
like Joe Burrow and Josh Allen.
Dak is a 10 to 12 guy. That's what I had him. I had him 10. Aaron Rodgers 11. Brock Purdy 12. Like that's where it's at. And
I would probably have him 12.
And I can mix and match them. But I think I'm not sitting here saying he's better than Jared Goff. He's better than no. But I do think there's like a cloud above him here in Detroit that people are like, nah, he's 13, he's 14. Like, no, dude, you could put him at 10 and it's not crazy. Like number 10 isn't like, dude, you're acting like Klotzy. The way you get mad about me putting Dak at 10 is you're acting like I have him in the Lamar Jackson conversation up there with Joe Burrow. Like, it is so far away from that. Like, he is so many tiers down from that. Like, you're acting like I have him in an insane conversation here, and it's a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. This man's at 10.
Because Aaron Rodgers isn't on that list. That's where
Aaron Rodgers has been hurt and just tore his Achilles for the last 12 months.
He's still better.
I don't have any hurt players on my list.
I'm still taking Aaron Rodgers.
Booner, to be fair,
Joe Burrow.
If Jared went down this season, would you take him out of your top 10?
I would move him down next summer until he plays again.
Well, he'd be out of your top 10 then.
He didn't play all year. I don't know. And when he comes back from the injury,
this is for this upcoming season, right? We're doing this upcoming season.
Yes, and guess what? It's part of last year to this year. Klotz said his was just this year. Mine was, what did guys do last year? Like, we have to take that into account. By the way, Steve Lehman, I want to make this very, very clear. Look me in my eyes, everyone, right now. Dak Prescott is a part of the Booner path, and it's the Detroit Lions beating the Dallas Cowboys by 50 points to go to a Super Bowl.
You're about to lose your CPO.
Yeah, he's in the way. He's in the way.
Don't ever question me again, Klotzy.
You were making it seem like he's on the path.
No, he is on the path. We're beating him.
Okay. All right. As long as we got that straightened away.
Let's review ETN's
I love you
top
guys,
10.
by the way.
ETN says Mahomes 1, Burrow 2, Allen 3, Lamar 4, 5, Stroud 6, Stafford 7, Herbert 8, Hurts 9, Love 10, Rodgers. Goff not in the top 10. I
think
put
ETN's just hating.
Okay. Hey, I thought you just said a minute ago. There's not one right answer. What'd you say? You said something like it can't just be the way or the highway. So technically, it is your way or the highway, Boone. Is that what you're insinuating? I guess.
In my head, it is.
Well, I would say with Hurts, I disagree. I don't think Hurts is in my top 10. I like Hurts, but based on, Hurts is an interesting one because I think he's very talented. He's kind of in that next tier to me with like others who like the Brock Purdy's based off what I've seen last year and foreshadowing. It's a mix of them. Like Hurts is another guy. Like he's not really the type he's not going to go out and maybe he can prove me wrong this year, but he hasn't thrown. He's not out there throwing, he's throwing for 30 TDs or killing people with his arm. He makes some great throws. Like there is flashes of Hurts where he makes some great throws, but I wouldn't put him in my top 10 yet. I'm sorry. I just think production has to matter to some extent, and he had a bad year last year. I guess if ETN's predicting this year he bounces back and has a great year and gets back to that MVP form, then yeah, I think that's fair. I don't hate it. I probably had Hurts at 11. He's right outside, so I don't hate that. But everything else, Herbert, I would put higher. I think Herbert's better than Stafford. I'm sorry.
I'm biased there.
Yeah. But other than that, I like his list.
Yeah, there's not too much that I dislike out of it. He pretty much just swapped Hurts and Goff. But I think Hurts, he's going to be a guy that bounces back in a big year. And by the end of this season, he'll be in everyone's top 10 list. So if you want to put him in now, that's fine. But I'm with you, Jeff. I do think Kellen Moore is going to help that offense, but there's still going to be some growing pains with it. But he's definitely going to return back closer to the Jalen Hurts that we saw in the Super Bowl run compared to last season.
And that dude's top 10. That dude's top 10. Who we saw that MVP year. So I don't hate that. Booner, I want to ask you. We talked about Aiden Hutchinson, Defensive Player of the Year odds. Do you remember what he was at last time we talked about him?
What is it at now? I could probably
plus 1,100.
I don't remember the number. I could check. Let me pull up the app.
Because right now he is plus 1,100, which trails behind Nick Bosa, Max Crosby, and Myles Garrett at plus 700, and then you have Micah Parsons and TJ Watt at plus 550.
I think it was about the same. Maybe it was a little less. Maybe it was about plus 1,300 or somewhere around that.
And Josh Allen, Jacksonville's Josh Allen, is next behind him with plus 1,800. And this was, I just remember, I'm reading an article, lionswire.usatoday.com, and they were talking about his Defensive Player of the Year odds increasing. So I was curious if he has, because it seems like, remember you mentioned it, Booner, the media trying to control the narrative. All right. And you've been putting that out. You put it out like weeks ago about how you think he'll win Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, so it's at plus 1,200 on FanDuel. It's still at plus 1,600, which is what it was. So I don't know where they're getting that at, or what sports books they're getting that at. But on FanDuel, but Micah Parsons plus 500, Myles Garrett plus 600, TJ Watt shout out plus.
This is BetMGM.
Okay, so it's a little different. So get the odds. Like if you're going to bet it, I would go bet it at FanDuel because you're getting plus 1,600 better odds. Nick Bosa plus 850, Max Crosby plus 1,000. And then Aiden Hutchinson plus 1,600. Yeah, like I just think like after Aiden Hutchinson, I think that's the drop off of Defensive Player of the Year. And again, I'll be consistent with it throughout the offseason. That's one of my biggest calls and takes that I'm going to have this year. And I want that's part of the Booner path is Aiden Hutchinson going out there and win Defensive Player of the Year. And I do think like if he makes that jump up to 15 sacks a game. And I think what kind of separates him and puts him in that TJ Watt kind of conversation, the Myles Garrett conversation, Nick Bosa, separating from like the Josh Allens and those guys is Aiden Hutchinson's a guy that'll go out there and he'll get a tip pass for an interception. And he'll change the game from a forced fumble, pick it up for a touchdown. Like we've seen that from him And those are the type of guys that win Defensive Player of the Years, that affect the game and are game changers, as you would want to call them, as guys who will affect the game in different ways, not just tackles and sacks. So I think like Aiden Hutchinson, if he goes out there and did what he did last year, multiple interceptions, forced fumbles, like the Chicago Bears game to win the game, if he's putting those performances up and he gets like 16 sacks, he's going to be a finalist for it, and he's going to be in that conversation without a doubt. Like, I will guarantee it. Just like I said a couple weeks ago when I first made the statement, I think I might have been the first one in the country to go out there and go on the limb and do that. And to me, like you said, Jeff, these awards are all about the media. Like, you have to get the hype through the media, and those are the words that like carry and carry and carry. And once the media hits it, it's a free fall. And the odds start to change, and he'll jump up. And first game, week 1, Matthew Stafford is in town here in Detroit again, or Sunday Night Football, I believe.
Yep.
And you have Aiden Hutchinson in primetime again. And the way he finished the season last year, going the last 5 or 6 games, averaging a sack a game, in the playoffs being an absolute dominating with the home crowd. If Aiden Hutchinson goes out there and he feels the energy, 2 sacks, a pass deflection, a forced fumble, a fumble recovery, and he does his dance on national TV come week 1. I promise you guys instantly, Aiden Hutchinson is going to be in the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year, and that odds will go from plus 1,600 all the way up to plus 400 come week 2. And it's going to be a switch like that. And then with the amount of national media games that the Lions will have, if Hutch from last year, where he had stretches where he wasn't as consistent. If he stays consistent like he did down the stretch last year in these national media games, he will win Defensive Player of the Year. And the Detroit Lions have 13 wins. He will win Defensive Player of the Year.
What about MVP for Jared
I don't
Goff?
think that's for Jared Goff. I don't know. That's such a tough conversation.
Tom says Goff winning MVP this season, 4,800 yards and 40 TDs, number 1 seed.
CTO stepped in, Boone. Don't you do it.
So the problem with
Jared Goff, dark horse MVP, part of the Booner Pat, 2016 Matt Ryan Booner. Could I interest you?
So this is what I'll say. If you want to sprinkle it, go ahead. Like, if you want to sprinkle it, go ahead. I made the conversation about a month ago. I remember I made the conversation to where I did go out there and say, if Jared Goff, if they win 13 plus games and he puts up the stats he did last year with the national media games and only 3 outdoor games, there's going to be a conversation of Jared Goff within the finalist of the top 3 there. But am I going to sit here and say it's a lock like I'm saying Aiden Hutchinson is? No, because you saw him last year. Like, you saw guys last year. Brock Purdy was in the thing. I think I want to phrase this the right way. I'm going to frame this the right way for you guys.
Right.
Let me give you guys an example. Brock Purdy last year on the best team in football. What was it? Week 16, Brock Purdy versus Lamar Jackson?
Yeah.
MVP game. Whoever wins that game wins the MVP. That was all it was. That's all it came down to. If there's a situation with Jared Goff, and I told you guys this earlier. I said this actually a month ago. Jared Goff versus the 49ers. What is it? Week 16 that they host them? Or we go to San Francisco?
Week 17.
Week 17. If Jared Goff has 4,500 yards at that point, 30 touchdowns and 7 interceptions, and they're going to the chance to get the number 1 seed in the NFC, and they have 12, 13 wins. And then Jared Goff goes and puts up 350 yards and 3 touchdowns. Jared Goff's going to be in the MVP conversation. That's just like a fact. That there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. That's the way he gets into it. That's how Brock Purdy got in it last year. Ended up losing it because he lost to Lamar Jackson. But that's how you get to that, is you play in big games, you put numbers up. If Jared Goff's going to have a chance to do it, I think. It's just about, like, in those big games, what does he do? In my opinion, he wins those games. So I think it's good for a sprinkle.
I mean, you're right. To your point, you said that no ifs, ands, or buts about it, Booner, you're correct. Because I think, and this is not like knocking Jared Goff, if any quarterback has 450 yards, that stat line going into that situation, they're going to do it. But I just don't think Jared Goff is a quarterback who's in a situation to win MVP. And I think when you look at CJ Stroud's going to be emerging, Joe Burrow is bouncing back, Patrick Mahomes is without a doubt going to win the MVP this year unless he gets hurt. Knock on wood, I don't think that's good for the NFL if Patrick Mahomes get hurt. And then your point about Josh Allen too, and then you get Christian McCaffrey, CMC. There's so many guys that I think are in a position to put up numbers and are a little bit more propped up and respected as MVP candidates than Jared Goff. So I just don't see it happening. If you want to sprinkle money on it, to Booner's point, go ahead, but I don't think you're going to get a big return on the investment.
I do think it's like some of these guys there were so many injuries in the NFL to where there is going to be like last year, the MVP race was so bad. Like this year, it's going to be tougher. But again, the Dallas Cowboys game last season, Jared Goff, like if he goes out there and wins that game and he actually puts up numbers, he is in the conversation to end the season last year after that Dallas game. Like that was week 17 or 16, and he was still in the MVP conversation. To where if he's in that situation again this year, obviously there's different situations when it comes to, Patrick Mahomes coming back and Joe Burrow and Josh Allen. Like, but I don't think it's like a crazy thing. Like at some point, dude, Ben Johnson is your OC, Dan Campbell, like you're in year 2, you're a Super Bowl contender now. Last year you weren't a Super Bowl contender. Like I thought they were, but the national media didn't think they were. Now you are. Like that comes with it. That's how I look at it. It comes with it.
Yeah. This one is
Jeff, I mean, you could say no, but like I just broke it down to you.
I didn't even say anything.
You can't say no. You can't say no to anything I said.
There's only one way. There's only one way.
Booner with the quarterback
I broke it down
to
where
the highway, and then Booner since then's like, it's my way or the highway.
Well, no, I broke it down. I broke it down to where it was like you really like how can you deny the points that I made?
He's saying that Goff has to have 4,500 yards and like a crazy stat line.
He had that last year.
No, I think he would need like
Dude, he was second in the NFL last year with 4,500.
Yeah, the passing yards, okay. I think
he had a handful of bad games.
I think for Goff, you'd have to have. Here's the thing, though, and I bring this example up: the Matt Ryan MVP year, he had like 30, close to 40 TDs, under 10 picks. Like he had a wild year, and you have to also take into account he didn't have the run game that the Lions have. I think they had 1,000-yard running back, and that was pretty much it. I think that was
Devontae Freeman, baby.
Was that for, okay? Yeah, I'm remembering correctly. Yep. Mm-hmm. I think Tevin had like 300 yards or something like that. 400.
He was like the receiving back.
Yeah, but my point being, with this run game, 2,000-yard backs potentially close to. I don't know if Goff. I don't know if that would be. The whole sprinkling money thing. It's like okay, that's where I'm at with the Boone. Is like I don't think he'll win MVP. I think he can have a good year and still not be in the MVP race. And I don't think that it's like who cares? You're trying to win a Super Bowl, man. Like that's what you're trying to do. And to be fair, I actually disagree with the Brock Purdy MVP thing. I said it last year. Christian McCaffrey's MVP of that team, dude. I agree.
I think I
point, and that's what drives me nuts sometimes is just the narratives in the league that go around. It drives me crazy.
Like, how could you watch the 49ers and your takeaway is he's the MVP? Brock. I get he plays quarterback. It's important. Absolutely. But, man, Christian McCaffrey?
I think last season, Christian McCaffrey should have won it over Lamar.
I agree. Like, and I'm a big Lamar guy. I mean, me and Adam used to argue about Lamar, and he's very low and was very low. I don't know. I haven't talked to him about Lamar recently, but I used to go at war with him about Lamar, defending him. Yeah. But man, nah, he shouldn't have won that MVP this year. I'm sorry.
I just think a sprinkle. Like for me, I'll probably sprinkle a little on Jared Goff just because there's going to be a chance you're on a contending team and you're the quarterback. A quarterback always has a chance to win MVP if you're one of the top 3 teams, in my opinion. And he's plus 3,500. So you put $10 to win 350. Like if you go over to Patrick Mahomes, he's plus 500. You put $10 to win $50. Like, it's such a big difference. And the same thing with Christian McCaffrey. I think Klotz, I told you a couple weeks ago that I'm going to bet Christian McCaffrey MVP. Christian McCaffrey MVP is plus 5,000. Like
J-Rod, what is this?
You put $10 to win 500.
Klotz, do not start.
He's having a hard time sniffing top 20 probably.
Well, to Easy's point, Jordan Love, better arm than Jared Goff. Anthony Richardson, better arm than Jared Goff. Anthony Richardson, top 10. Easy. I think I know how your brain works now.
You got so excited.
I think I know how you
No, but
rate
that's why I said what I said with the Joe Burrow and the Jared Goff thing. It takes a lot more. It's quarterback is so mental that if you don't have the biggest skill set, but you know how the game works, you can find ways to beat the defense. And Anthony Richardson, I think, has all the potential to be a top 10 quarterback, especially with Shane Steichen, the way they're going to run that offense, having a good run game with Jonathan Taylor, who I think could lead the league in rushing this year. He could be a problem. He could be a problem. He has some weapons.
Coulda, woulda, shoulda.
I think he will be.
Okay, all right. See,
I think he'll be
on it.
like
You
talk about. I think he'll be like at the end of the year. I think pretty consistently in like that Hurts, Purdy, and like that Dak tier. I think he could be in that tier. And then you need another season to see it again, and then he's top 10.
I'm not.
He's gonna have some growing pains this year for sure.
Yeah, I'm just not a big Anthony Richardson guy, and maybe that, and I'll admit it's a little. I'm dying on a hill because I didn't like him before the draft, and maybe that's why I'm continuing to die on this hill. But I think talent-wise, arm strength, dude, yeah, he's got the arm strength. We all saw it working out. I understand, and he's actually impressed me a lot with like his approach. Like I think that dude's a leader of men. You know, the team loves him. Shane Steichen's his head coach, great offensive mind. Like I get all that, but man,
let me ask you this:
you got to show me.
You love the offensive minded head coaches, and you think the success that they have. Shane Steichen, solid running game. He has everything a quarterback needs, and the most important. Good OC. I think they have a good GM. You can say what you want about Jim Irsay, but he's won some bowls there.
They do have a good GM. GM's locked in.
Chris Ballard's a stud.
Chris Ballard is goated. I think that is a. What do you say?
He's got weapons too.
Yeah, and the defense guys. Very sleepy defense. They play in a dome, and you can laugh at that. But for a quarterback, that's definitely more friendly. Anthony Richardson is a quarterback that is set up for success. And to your point, he's very mature. And I think it will take a little bit longer with him, especially because he got hurt his rookie year. And I do think you have to worry about injuries with him in general, just because how he plays. But he's a guy that can, if he even scratches his ceiling, he's a top 10 quarterback.
Yeah, no, Anthony for sure. I think they have.
Well, you guys have the Colts winning the division.
I do.
No, I didn't say winning, but I think they're going to compete for it. I did remember. I'm with Klotz though. I don't know if they win it. I think it's like week 17
game difference.
Yes, week 17, 18. It's going to come down to like a massive all right. And I think they'll have a chance. So that's a good team, dude. The Colts they put together a good franchise.
Well, that's a great ball.
I don't know if you guys.
They'll be third.
I messaged you guys separately here. I have a question for you guys. I want to tell the people though, real quick. Make sure you guys hit the like button if you guys haven't already. We're at like 30. We're at like 30 likes right now. We have 100 people. Everyone hit the like right now. Let's get over 100 likes for the boys here for Jared Goff. Over 100 likes before the end of the stream. Everyone just do it real quick. But I've got a question for you guys. We skipped over the topic, and I just wanted to bring it up because I was struggling to figure this out earlier when I was prepping for the show. It was the wide receiver. We could talk about this more Monday too, like in depth, but it was about the wide receiver. It was that topic you put in there, Jeff, about the wide receivers for the Lions, and Mina Kimes saying like how J-Mo's supposed to take that next step, but who do they have next? And shout out Easy and the Heavyweights.
Are you going to get into it now?
I just want to ask you guys a question about it. We can talk. We could talk more about it, but I'm interested because I can't think about this all weekend, dude. You know how my mind works.
It's fair.
What I want to ask though is like I've been consistent on this for about 2 months now. I think they need another wide receiver, and I've been very consistent. If Antoine Green and DPJ don't step up, who do you guys think, like just off the top of your head, or you can pull up the NFL teams right now? Is there like a couple players in mind that you think will like on the trade market to where you're like great fit for the Detroit Lions? Because I was trying to think about it before the show. And I was getting in I don't know who's going to be available for trade. The one that popped into my head and a name that I saw a lot that's going to be in the trade market because of Jackson Smith, Najigba, is Tyler Lockett. Like that was one where I'm like, he is a deep threat that could fit, but is that someone the Lions would want? I'm just trying to think of some players with some vets for a year that you could trade for to bring in for a Super Bowl run that would come in and be like, yep, I'm like, let's go. And kind of help out on this team out wide. What do you guys think?
I mean,
Is there
Tyler
anyone?
Lockett's definitely a guy that would be what I think they look at first, a culture fit. I think he would fit that. He's the type of guy that Brad Holmes wants. My issue with Tyler Lockett, who I would love to have on the Detroit Lions, is just he's a guy that can stretch the field vertically, but you really don't want to have him lined up outside. That's Jamison Williams. You know what I mean? So I just, again, if you have Tyler Lockett, Jamison Williams, and Amon-Ra St. Brown, that's a great situation to be in. So I'm not going to knock it, but I just don't know if that's the way they look compared to just getting like a better version of Donovan Peoples-Jones, who I'd have to think about. But Tyler Lockett is not somebody I'd be like, why'd you just trade for? I mean, because he can do it all. He's just been a guy that when he's healthy, he's got some of the best body control in the NFL. Like as far as making catches on the sideline. And when you talk about on third downs, trying to get a first down, being able to catch the ball on the sideline right in front of the pylon, something like that, Tyler Lockett's ups in the league. So it's going to help Jared Goff out a lot.
I was just trying to think of other receivers. We should on Monday, we should bring like our top 5 trade market wide receiver targets for the Detroit Lions. And go, like, because I was really like interested to see what people would say and who people think would be available and would fit on the Lions team.
Yeah, I'd have to think because we can come up with a graphic with it too, because that'd be good to post too.
Yeah,
but
maybe we just do 5 as a team here, and like we work it out and get 5 together.
No, I'll find some klotzy guys.
I don't want these small guys. I want guys that were like, I don't want you to go out there. No, klotzy. I don't want you to go out there and trade for another Antoine Green or DPJ.
No.
Go out there and trade for someone who's going to make this offense the number 1 offense in the NFL.
Oh, I will.
And I will be the decider of that.
No.
Oh, yeah.
You come with your list. I'll come with mine.
Boys, yeah, I love the excitement. Love it. I love the optimism. To me, if you're gonna say trade, the word trade, the words following that should be trade for an edge rusher. Okay, I'm not. There is no trade for a wide receiver.
All right, no, you're not doing this.
If you think they need a Tyler Lockett and we're at the trade deadline,
I'm not talking about
J-Mo ain't J-Mo.
Hey, he's talking about training camp.
This guy just took the easy way. Jeff, guess what? Hey, Jeff, I want to
trading assets for a wide receiver when you have J-Mo, Sam, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. That's
Jeff. I want to tell you something here. You have a contending football team now. You don't need to just make one trade. You can make a trade before training camp, and then you can make a trade at the trade deadline. You have Brad Holmes as well. You have 2 pieces. You're a 2.
Tyler Lockett, what would it cost? Like a 5th?
Oh wow, yeah, that's not. Like that. Wow, you wouldn't
4?
do that.
I know. I'm actually just asking. I'm actually
there's no way he goes for a 3rd. Like he's 30 years old.
Probably a 5th. Yeah, Jeff. Like, dude, you could like. I'm not like. Obviously, I want the trade for an edge rusher at the deadline. I'm all in on that. But I think wide receiver is like. You guys, I got clowned the very first week I brought up that I don't know if I trust this back end of the wide receiver room. And you guys are like, well, what about depth? Booner, who cares about depth? I think now people are starting to see the light a little bit. You see the light?
No, I haven't seen nothing.
No, I'm saying you're seeing the light of like, hey, we need something. We need we need something back there. Like people are.
I don't think it's like an absolute need, but to your point, I don't think we're ever against it getting better. But I'm not pounding the table for a trade either. You know what I mean? Like, if it happens, I'm not opposed, but I'm not like, why is Brad not traded for T. Higgins? Why is he not brought in Brandon Ayuk? Brandon Ayuk wants out of Stanford. Like,
the reason this came up, though, was...
That's my opinion on it.
The reason this came up, though, and the reason, like, Mina Kimes, went on with Easy and the heavyweights was they did an offensive rankings, and I think they had the Detroit Lions 4th or 5th. And Easy and them thought that they should be higher. And she said the only reason, essentially, that we don't have them 1, 2, 3 is because the negative on the football team is the wide receiver 3, 4. Like they need another wide receiver to really be like, yep, there's because if you do look around the NFL, some of these elite offenses have multiple wide receivers. You have Amon-Ra and J-Mo.
You think the 49ers offense is elite?
No, I didn't. This isn't me. I'm saying this is why she came on the podcast or on their show.
No.
I'm not. This is not my. Relax. You're trying to cook me here.
No, not you.
Relax. I'm not
asking,
a bum.
like 49ers offense. If they traded away Brandon Ayuk, they would take
changes.
A hit.
No, yes, it would.
Yeah, I would still be like, that's pretty good offense. Like
It
they'll
takes
be
a hit though. You're gonna be like, who are they gonna replace?
But, like,
Jeff.
what-
no,
like who? I'm sorry.
number one last year.
No, hold on.
No.
Hold on. And
What are you trying to say?
I respect Mina Kimes a lot. Well, you can't look at an offensive ranking list and be like, yeah, they're wide receiver 4. I just don't know. I don't know. I gotta knock them for that.
Jeff,
That's
Jeff,
ridiculous.
no, no.
Absolutely
No,
ridiculous.
you're not being smart here. You're not. I love you. You're not thinking right.
So we can't factor in the best offensive line, a top 5 wide receiver.
You do. That's why
top
she had them
tight
at. That's why
end,
she had them at
Amo,
4.
one of the most explosive players.
That's
he
why
could
she
be
had them at
NFL.
4.
2
That's why
backs that are really good.
That's why when I listened, she said I had them lower, and then she started to explain. I do think like J-Mo needs to take a step forward, and then as well is who's after J-Mo, who's there, Khalif Raymond.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really content. Like, I'm not trying to be a dick. Like, that's fine with me. Like, Leaf been a guy.
Easy
who
said
gives me
that's
5
not why, but when I listened, that was literally exactly what she said. Like word for word.
Well,
She literally
and
was
maybe-
like, I
maybe
think
we're
J-Mo needs to take a step. She said
Maybe I'm-
J-Mo needs to take a step, and they need someone behind J-Mo. That was it. But,
Khalif
like,
Raymond's there.
When you get to the top 5, it gets really nitpicky. You have to like, okay, you have to look deep into it. And like, that's like, guys, we don't have a wide receiver 4, like DPJ, and you're sitting here and
You're really saying that we don't have a wide receiver 4?
you lost Josh Reynolds. Like we're acting like this is
J-Mo. J-Mo. That's J-Mo. Okay, next.
I
Who's after?
understand what you're
hasn't
saying,
done it
Boone. Like,
yet.
this is where we get to the conversation of I get what you're saying. In my opinion, and I think Jeff agrees,
This is what
looking
happened a
too
month
far
ago.
deep into it.
This is what happened a month ago when I said I would like to get some more depth.
Yeah,
And
and
you guys were like,
that's what
no.
I'm saying. We still like.
You guys were like, no, DPJ is going to be great. You guys like,
Hold on.
you guys bowed
on.
down to me saying trust in DPJ.
Bow
And he
down.
did-
I said it.
Yeah,
you
now
freaked
you're
out on him for
exaggerating.
saying he's gonna have 215 yards, whatever
Yeah.
the fuck it was,
Well,
and I said I'd be fine with it.
Here's the thing. Okay, Booner, let's get this very straight. Sam LaPorta and Amon-Ra, good duo, right? Great duo. I'm just talking about the passing game. Good duo. That's a great duo, right? You'll take that. Jamison Williams. I mean, I would assume we talk about it a lot. We're confident in him, right? Like, I know he has to do it, but like, let's cut the bullshit. Like, you like J-Mo?
Yes.
Okay. Do you like what did we just spend a whole topic on 3 weeks ago? Khalif Raymond. We like him. He's pretty good.
Yes.
So like what
Mailbag. Let's do 5 minutes.
you
of
know what I
mailbag.
mean? Like that's
Mailbag. He's got mailbag.
what I don't know. I mean,
Make sure you guys hit the like button too. I mean, what are we doing here, fellas? What are we doing
do
here?
you get that side though? I'm just asking you. Do you get that side? Like
Sometimes.
I think J-Mo will be really good.
Sometimes I don't understand. Like, I'm the most positive person about the Detroit Lions probably in the city.
And that's
I
why
have
I'm
to put it back.
shocked.
No, you're shocked. Well, it's because like our job is to break this down. And there is a little bit of a there is a bit of an issue on the offense, and that's DPJ hasn't hold on. Don't give me that face, Vinny. DPJ hasn't showed out like people thought he would. So you thought that was going to be a player that stepped up. He's not. Who cares? Put that down. This is your problem. This is your problem. And the chat will agree with me on this. Whoever's listening will agree with me on this. And Ben Johnson's offense, the 4th wide receiver is going to get like that. That means something. And you're shaking your head here. You know what? I'm not doing this here. Let's do mailbag. No. I'm the most positive person about the Detroit Lions. And when I see a flaw, I'm going to call it out and say, hey, what can
It's
we
a
do?
flaw? Their weapons? They're passing in the passing game? Not
This guy.
not
Okay.
running
No,
backs, but wide
let's just
receivers
do
and tight ends?
mailbag.
Am I crazy here?
Yeah, you
actually
are, dude. Like,
saying
you're acting like we have the
flaw?
like. All right.
You're so lost. No, I'm not. Like, I'm not trying to troll. I'm fucking lost. Like, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam LaPorta, J-Mo, Khalif Raymond. We're at 5, like that. We're at 4 to 5 guys. We're worried about the 5th, 6th guy.
Jameer too.
I mean, this guy, dude. This man has nothing. You have no. You're not trying to troll. You're trying to troll. You have no concept. You have no concept of depth. You have no concept of being able to replace Josh Reynolds. You have no concept of saying, "Hey, and like, all right, Jeff, You were the one that was saying DPJ is going to take a step forward. He didn't do it. You still need to replace him because he was supposed to be the one that steps in that back role with Josh Reynolds. Guess what? As of right now, he's not going to. He is not going to. We at least from what we've heard.
So based on OTAs, you've lost all faith in DPJ.
Not all faith, but if he doesn't, okay. Now you're just laughing like, all right. This is why I can't argue with you.
This is how I look. And also, real quick.
This is why Flannel went crazy with you in the morning. This is why he went crazy with you.
He got himself in some trouble.
Yeah, he did do some crazy. He did say, shout out to Flannel. He did do some crazy things, but laughing at things like are like these. This is not something crazy. And you're
so
you don't have you don't have faith
is a flaw.
So you don't have,
disagree.
Okay.
I don't think it's
Let's move on. 10:02. Let's end the show.
All right.
This is. I mean, you do this to me. It's like listen to what I'm saying. It's every time I say something,
it came out of your mouth that you.
Every time I say something, you go. You spin it a different way. You go. Oh, so you lost faith of? No, stop talking. Every time I say something, you go, oh, so you lost faith because of him for OTAs? That's not what I said. You're putting words in my mouth. Stop doing that. Stop spinning it. I said DPJ didn't show up in minicamp and OTAs. Beat writers and people said, hey, we haven't heard, like, there hasn't been great things about him. We need to, like, that is an issue. If he doesn't show up in minicamp, who's going to take the spot that DPJ was supposed to step up for? We already know Khalif Raymond. But DPJ was supposed to be the fourth. You have 4 wide receivers. He was supposed to be the 4th one. He's not. And you're laughing at the depth of the 4th wide receiver. That is an absolute that's a need in this offense. They rotate. What happens if a guy goes down? You need a guy.
I'm not trying to play. Let me play devil's advocate here. What about like all the hype that's coming up of like Antoine Green as your wide receiver 4?
Okay, but what if he doesn't step up? Like again, you can't just sit
what if
here
he does?
Hope for a
There's
fifth
always
round.
the flip.
This is why I can't talk to you. What if he does?
You said what if he doesn't? Can I say what if he does? If we're going what if?
The conversation's about replacing someone. It's about bringing someone in. You don't just keep saying, "Oh, let's just hope that one of these guys, a 5th round pick, does it."
Answer so many. Okay, you asked who replacing Josh Reynolds. He had 600 yards. 400 of it is coming from J-Mo. Add another 200 from Jameer. Boom, he's done. We're good. Moving on. Like, we keep talking about replacing Josh Reynolds. Like, J-Mo, and Khalif Raymond will be there. And DPJ can get 200, 300 yards. He can fill in with his cracks. He can help out. We keep having this conversation. I keep giving you the same answer. It's the same.
Hit the like button. Yeah, you keep saying the same thing over and over. It's like I'm having a conversation about how we can get better and the team can get better in a need that needs to be like, and you just don't want to have the conversation. You just want to keep going. Well, they have this. Like, what happens if they need someone? Like have the conversation.
Okay, yeah.
I'm not the only one that feels like that they could use some depth in that room.
Okay, yeah.
Like there has been people who said it. The wide receiver coach came out and said, hey, we've got some work to do in this wide receiver room. Like, I'm not crazy for this. You're acting like I'm dead wrong. The wide receiver, Antoine Randall L, came out in the press conference. You could disagree all you want. This isn't a take. This is Antoine Randall L came out and said, hey, there's work that has to be done in this wide receiver room. That's a fact.
Yeah. And I'm giving you my take.
So if you disagree,
this is my take. I think they're fine.
All right. You thought they were fine with DPJ a month ago too, and how did he do in minicamp?
Okay, so again, you don't think he's going to translate?
I hope he does, but if he doesn't, as of now, he has not. As of now, he has not.
Well, and I'm not all the way on Jeff's side on this. I'm not going to be mad if they add depth, and I don't think it's a need, but it's like, oh, if they get one, okay, cool. But we asked Doc, like, why has there not been any positive light about DPJ? And he's like, well, because he's been running the 2s with Hendon Hooker, and he's hasn't really had the best opportunity to shine compared to some of these other guys. So I think that's important. And again, like, it's kind of seemed like we're writing DPJ off already when he's been a guy that has done it in the league for numerous years. Not a wide receiver 1 or 2, but as a guy that has been a serviceable wide receiver 3 his whole career. And I don't think that's going to change in Detroit, especially when there's not many guys that have the frame as Donovan Peoples-Jones on this team. And there's not going to be that many that are out on the block because that is valuable. So I just think Donovan Peoples-Jones is the wide receiver 4. What?
Yeah, I don't know. He
You
thinks
guys just keep acting the DPJ wide receiver 4.
It's see
I'm
now
living
he's-
on that
like
hill.
because I'm
Until
like
it doesn't work
we
out.
haven't seen DPJ in this offense, and it's like okay, all this negative reports is fine, but it's like let's see this first, and if it doesn't work, okay, then if you have Antoine Green, who people are hyping up, where's all that hype coming about? We talk about all the hype with the undrafted guys' names escape me, Fontaine. Like if that's the guy that they want to do, I just think if they don't add to this wide receiver room, they are completely fine. If they add to it, that's great.
Yeah, I'm not
Like,
going to be mad if they do. I won't be like, damn it, they added a wide receiver. I just don't. I don't really care. I don't think they don't need to. It's not like a flaw.
I mean, it's just crazy. You guys are making me seem to be out nuts because I think
I'm not.
the fourth guy.
I just disagree. Is that
I mean,
okay?
you and Jeff got in a
You
heated
disagree?
debate, but like Antoine Randall saying they need to do work. Like a coach is always going to say that, and I don't think that necessarily
Because
means
they
adding
don't-
another piece to the roster. Like I think there's things that need to be tuned up.
All right,
Absolutely.
we'll just
If they add somebody to the room, I think it's going to be somebody that's the same level as the Antoine Green, Zonovan Peoples-Jones. Like I don't think it's a
Like
drastic
if one
shake.
wide receiver,
And what does
goes
that
down,
guy have to do?
done.
If they go down, like Brad Holmes is already prepping for that. Like they're thinking about those things. And it's the one thing where it's like it's easy to say bring this guy in, have him develop in this offense. How many times, especially with Donovan Peoples-Jones, who's a vet, who's had close to a 1,000-yard season, had to learn this offense and learn everything about it. So that's the other thing where I push back too, because it's like if you're going to get a wide receiver 5 or 6, I think it's just smarter to try to develop the guys you have already. If they're not enough, Brad will go out and make that time.
Yeah, I mean it's fine. We can disagree. You think
If
it's
someone's got
a flaw, or
mailbag
you-
questions, drop some mailbags. Keitho wants mailbag. Shout out Keitho too.
We'll do the OT Friday night.
I don't have anything to do. I'm going to the Rocket. If you guys are going to the Rocket Mortgage Classic today or tomorrow or Sunday, come find me. I'll be out there. Mailbag though. Anyone has questions? Shout out James.
Hey, I don't want to even say it because now I don't want to get into that. I'm not touching
Dude,
that.
I mean,
That was the purest form of entertainment I've watched in a while. The debate.
And by the way,
last night.
Tom did say trust is Brad Holmes. Like I trust Brad Holmes. Like I truly do. But just, like this is just conversations. Like, hey, where can we fix the roster? Where we get better? I'm sure Brad Holmes is over in Allen Park right now having the same similar conversations. Like, where can we get better? That's all this is for me. It's where do I think Brad will improve? I think he's going to go look at another weapon. He's going to bring in a wide receiver.
Yeah, and again to clarify, I don't hate that. I just think there's edge is by far a bigger need to me than that, and that's just my opinion on that.
I don't hate that.
Yeah, why would I be upset if they added a wide receiver? I just don't think they need one. It's not like I have confidence in JMO. That's where I'm at. I think he'll be really good for
All
him.
right, mailbag.
That's where I'm at.
Mailbag.
I don't mind a wide receiver 4. I really don't.
All right, you're still talking. Mailbag.
I thought you loved debates. You commented that in the chat.
I do. And you guys know that I love arguing.
Mailbag. What if JMO doesn't become the guy we want him to be? Well, that's again another hypothetical scenario. Then at the deadline, you're probably thinking about something
we live in a Jeff, I'm gonna give you something really, really clear here. We work in an industry where all we do is make topics about hypothetical scenarios. Like that is our job, is to make topics.
Okay, boom.
Every topic we have is a hypothetical.
Okay, but here we go. I'll ask the question. What if he does work out and he's really good?
Then you have your wide receiver number 2 and you're
okay,
good.
That's why
and if
it's
he doesn't,
tough to answer those
if
questions.
He doesn't,
it's
you're
what if
in
he
a bad
doesn't?
spot because
What
you
if
have
he
no
does?
depth. But if he but you not answering the question and just going, well, that's a hypothetical. I'm not doing that.
I
But
was
you'll
answering and you fucking interrupted me. I was gonna say then you looked at a wide receiver. There you go. Thanks for that. There you go. You got anything to say?
No, if he doesn't become, if he's not the Jamel, then you're in trouble. You don't have the depth right now.
Yes, that's okay.
That's where my point is.
Also,
If you don't have the depth, you need to get the depth.
It's like, yeah, again.
Man, well, this was a hypothetical. I don't think we can
I
talk
was
about
going
that.
to answer it, and you can't just let me answer it. That's the problem. Yeah, I was again. I understand the question. Art, mailbag. What position, if an injury happens, is your biggest concern? Edge, to me. I would say that again.
Wide receiver, one of the two. Yeah,
Trying
I
to
don't
think,
know. It's
honestly,
hypothetical if there's an injury.
I was going to say corner. I think corner with where you want to go with this team. If something happens to Terrion or Carlton Davis, I think, yeah, you got a lot of lower tier guys, but with the lack of defensive end, I think they have a lot of guys in that defensive end room who are kind of similar in tier. Cornerback room, if you have one of those top 2 corners go down, I think there could be some weaknesses for sure. Tackle too. Fucking tackle. I'd actually go tackle before I did tackles. Number one. Number one is tackle. Number one is tackle.
Offensive line depth for sure. Oh, that's up there. If one of those guys
Shout
goes
out
down,
Colby.
I'm worried. It's not really anymore. I mean, Xavier D. Mailbag. When are you boys going to hockey school? You live in Hockey Town. Hey, well, it's a good question.
I'll say this. I know the wings. I just don't know like draft and prospects and stuff like that. That's the only like I could talk about the wings, but I can't get into like the actual prospects of everything. We cover so many sports. Maybe that is something we need to lock in on. Lock down, baby. But like the Red Wings, I could talk to Red Wings. It's just more so like the whole hockey world. Yeah.
Yeah, prospects it's a whole other thing. Like when a season comes around, we could talk Red Wings, but man, deep diving into prospects, that's nearly not my that's not my forte there. Booner's daddy. Manners, kiddo. Let Jeffrey say his mediocre answer.
Shout out Booner's daddy, man. I don't know who that is, but
Mailbag, Uthivaki. Uthivaki could step up in the wrong role if need be.
I think Keito's saying that he thinks Vaki could be the guy to step up, because earlier he did put Vaki when he said to me that I think he said he doesn't think they need someone else because Vaki could be that guy. I don't think Vaki could like take Khalif Raymond role, but he can do something. Just not that type of role.
All right, we'll get out of here. We appreciate you guys, man. Leave a like if you've enjoyed. We'll be back Monday. Content posted throughout all the weekend. We have got it scheduled out today, so enjoy it. And we'll
hit the like button. Everyone hit the like button.
Have a great weekend. Take care of yourselves. Deuces.